All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. It is, in fact, the apocalypse right now, so very fitting that business is going on. I'm going to kill the sound on my own stream here so that there we go. All right. Thanks so much for joining us on this three-part Vaesen mini story arc that we've got going on here. I'm joined tonight, as I usually am on these things. I somehow manage to always find awesome people, but tonight more so, I have a group of very fantastic people. We're all from the same stream unit, and it really was just kind of a happenstance that it all fell in line that we were all here together tonight. And so I would like to give them an opportunity right now to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves, who they are, what they do, and we'll get this show on the road. And let us start with someone that you know if you've watched some other Vaesen here. Stephanie, who's becoming a regular Vaesen player of mine. How you doing, Stephanie?
Good, thanks. Very excited to bring Vendela back. If you remember from Issa, she is the occultist in the group. You can usually find me in lurking in the Guild Superior or usually the Live from the Apocalypse channel under the Discord under the handle Lavenza. Trying to think what I have going on right now. We have currently in over at LFTA a Season of Secrets and Shadows, the Regency flavored Monster Hearts game that JD is running, and soon I will be in a new game that JD kind of made called Redacted, which is a bit of a supernatural psychological horror game also over at LFTA. So we're very excited about that one and very excited to get into this new mystery tonight.
Cool. A lot of good stuff going on. It's certainly a pleasure to have you again. We had Kevin in Vaesen who had played that character once before. I think it's actually, you played a different occultist in the very first game in the
I did, yeah,
the Christmas special. That was your trial occultist, and
yes,
you drove that one around for a while, and then you decided you liked the brand, so you bought another one. It's always interesting to see characters come back and evolve. So, and I always have a lot of fun playing with you. So, thank you so much for being back here. And then speaking of JD, how are you, JD? First time playing together. I'm so excited. How you doing?
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I've been watching Steph get to play with Vaesen for both the one shot you did and the last series, and I loved it. So I am very excited to be playing Father Victor, the priest, in this particular mystery we will be exploring. You can also find me with Live from the Apocalypse. I'm just going to say follow me on social media, JD, not Jason Dean, because otherwise I will be here for an hour just listing the ridiculous number of projects I have coming up. But there are a lot. They are fun. And I am, again, very happy to be here.
And you've been doing, I've been watching some streams you've been doing recently, and you're all putting yourselves through the ringer with a lot of those, and very intense and very emotional. So, and it's the kind of stuff I like. So, this will be light and fluffy compared to all of that, so you can sort of kick back.
Oh, good. I'm very relieved. I am in the middle of a 9-day streak of games, fourth game in a row. So it's going to be fun. There's going to be tears at different points. It's going to be great. It might be tonight.
You going for a record or what's going on?
100%. 100%.
Cool. Thank you so much for being here. Super thrilled to have you. We've been following each other in there on Twitter and whatnot, and so it's great to finally be able to play with you. Speaking of Live from the Apocalypse, we have Will. Hey, Will, how you doing?
Hey, hi, hello. I'm glad to be back. I've been on this channel once before, and that was a blast. So thanks for bringing me back.
No problem.
I only know one way to do this, so I'm just going to do the whole thing. Hey, what's up? Hi, my name is Will. I'm one of the storytellers and organizers over at Live from the Apocalypse, which is a not-for-profit TTRPG studio that makes actual play content in the forms of streams and podcasts to raise money for nonprofits and aid organizations and other good causes like that. We do a lot of cool stuff over there, a lot of games, probably talk more about that at the end, but we're currently raising money for the First Nations Development Institute. If you want to check it out, at Live from the Apoc on Twitter, at Live from the Apocalypse everywhere else. That's the whole thing. I'm going to be playing Rudolph Kirk. He's a hunter tonight with a dark past.
don't they all have dark pasts when they show up in Vaesen? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
No, it's fine. I'm well adjusted. I don't know what you're talking about. It's fine.
it's just everybody else. Cool. Thanks so much, Will, for being here. You produced the game that I played on your channel, and yeah, I remember you being in Miko's channel, and you looked like you had a good time, and you were very good. So super happy to have you here. And finally, person almost got kicked out of this stream just before we started due to some unruly behavior.
I would like to formally apologize for my
name,
unruly
KT?
behavior. Yeah.
How you doing, KT?
I'm great. I'm super happy to be here. I'm very sick. So we're bringing that level of energy tonight to the game. You can normally find me over in the Life from the Apocalypse Discord. I gotta be honest, I still don't understand Discord. I think it's Catnix. I think that's what it is. I don't know. But maybe I'm also on Twitter. I am. I'm pager2266 on Twitter because that is my actual pager number where I work. And now you guys know that too. I had so much day cool before this introduction and I am falling apart.
Well, you know.
It's okay. Also, I did the art and that was cool.
Yeah, I was totally gonna bring that up. Our character art was done. You can see them right now in the little tokens, and you'll see them a little better in a bit, done by KT. And it was very fantastic. And I think you have a bright future in art if you, want to give up healthcare work and get into that.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
So much more money to be made in designing art for TTRPG games.
I really love the stability of it.
Exactly. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. I appreciate all of you taking the time to come and do this. I do have a couple of other little things to plug, as you know how these things go. I myself am the Bleakseason. You can find me at the Bleakseason on Twitter and sort of everywhere else on the internet. I run games here at Guild Superior, and soon also on my channel, thebleakseason.com. I'll tell you more about that later. I also want to give a shout out to Tabletop Audio, who this is where we get all our music, and I'm actually trying to type this as I go. It's where we get the music that you'll be hearing tonight. It's not playing right now, but it will in a moment. Tabletop Audio has tons of really cool audio tracks for you to pick from. You can get them for free on their websites. There's even a web player. You can make your own playlist. A couple bucks, you can get their Patreon, and you get tons more variations on the games. We love their music. Absolutely awesome. So we're glad to be featuring them. We are also big fans over here of Free League, as you can tell by the amount of Free League games we run. This game tonight is very graciously sponsored by Free League, and we have a giveaway, which I'll tell you more about in a second, of some core rulebooks of Vaesen. To get into the drawing, all you have to do is type !drawing, and you'll be entered into this drawing to win one of the core rulebooks for Vaesen that they were very kind enough to gift us for this occasion. We are the Guild Superior. We love to bring people together and play games. If you're looking to get into some of the games, you just want to hang out with us, you want to come and post memes on our Discord, all the information's right there. Our main page is basically just memes of coffee memes and Monday morning memes, and it's how these things kind of roll. But we are super glad to hear from you, have you in if you want to check out, maybe get into one of our games. And it's how a lot of us got started. So do not at all be hesitant to come in contact with us. I would also like to plug here the giveaway. As I said, typing !giveaway will get you in. And finally, if you would like to get involved and help out the players along their trip on this weird farm they're going to, you can feel free to give some bits. For 100 bits, you can buy a player an advantage. I would like to say that all of you start with one advantage that you will get back every game, so you have that in your back pocket should you need it. And with that out of the way, I believe it is time to begin. Vaesen. We open up here today with a letter that was written recently. If you watched Vaesen Isa, you saw that there was on the boat that Vendela was on, there was a bunch of people, but there was in particular one lumberjack named Jor Engstrom, who had seemed a little sweet on Vendela, but then sort of pulled back a little bit after he was attacked by a Russian spy, and things sort of went downhill from there. However, sometime later, Jor, returning to his family farm in the village where he grew up, saw a few disturbing things, and he decided that perhaps the thing to do was to write a letter to Vendela asking for help, because she had seen how she and her companions had professed themselves to be investigators of the occult, and it solved a pretty thorny problem. The letter reads as such: Miss Engstrom, I hope this letter finds you well. You may not remember me very well. Our interactions were brief, and so much happened after, but we met on the Vaesen during that frightful incident with the ice. You and your friends claimed to be investigators of sort. I remember the shifty-eyed fella, the writer Johansson, saying as such, and adding that you specialized in matters concerning things that most people cannot see. It is in this capacity that I write you now. I will try to be brief and hope that this missive will pique your curiosity enough that you will agree to help me. I come from a small farming community in Norway called Ormsdaler. It is a quaint little town, and like most farming towns, we've had our ups and downs, mostly downs, to tell the truth. Long ago, when my father was still young, the village followed pagan ways, and one of the practices they followed was that of a harvest sacrifice. Usually a sheep or a game animal, the sacrifice was meant to ensure a good harvest. In time, and as the community acquired other means of ensuring a better harvest through science and technology, these practices were abandoned. There is even a priest here now. However, a few years ago, the village experienced more difficulties. I was away working the northern timber by then, and this was recounted me by my father. It seems that after a few years of bad crops, some of the village elders began talking of renewing with the old ways. Many in the village did not support this, however. By my understanding, the matter was still being hotly debated last year, when some villagers discovered that someone had taken it upon themselves to enact the old ritual. Only this time, the sacrificial victim was a man. By some miracle, the harvest last year was incredibly bountiful, which now has many wondering whether or not the practice should continue. Others believe that none here could do such a thing to a man, and that it must be a vengeful landvetter, the spirits of the land, who harvested this poor man's body, perhaps in retribution for being abandoned for so long. I am writing to ask if you and some of your companions might be willing to travel here and investigate this matter, as I fear someone might do the unthinkable as we approach once again the time of the year for the ritual. I'm including a map and some money for train and coach tickets. In hopes you will hear my plea and come forthwith, I remain your Engstrom. And so, reading this letter, you decided to come and see what this was all about. However, many of there seems to be an uptick in the need for the Hellstrom Society's services, and so when the letter arrived, you were pretty much alone at the manor, except for one strange young woman who had been coming to you recently asking questions about elves and fays and spirits of the sort, and you sort of took a liking to this woman and her strange cat. And so, as we will see in a few moments, you find yourselves on a coach currently heading towards Ormsdaler. But before we get to that, we open on a small farming community, nestled somewhere near the western coast of Norway. Now I'm going to do something here where I'm going to change the scene, and I'm really afraid that the sound's going to cut out because I think I messed up something. So, no, we're good. Okay. You never know how these things are going to turn out. You are heading here to Ormsdalr from Uppsala, which is where you started over here. So you started out here in Uppsala, and via train and coach have made your way a fairly circuitous route to Ormsdalr, and the last part of it has to be done by coach. You were just up here last time in your last adventures. It was just a little further up this coast, and then we can see now. You approach Ormsdalr. Now, we open on a small farming community. Nestled somewhere near the western coast of Norway, the land around the town is heavily forested, and what isn't dotted with a number of currently fallow fields. The earth here is the color of dirty straw, and the furrows where the plow has cut through it lay dry and empty. A light rain falls from the dark spring sky, and further to the west, we see the smoke-belching mouths of some sort of industrial concern. The village is waking up now, and while some pall of worry hangs over it like a threatening storm cloud, the people are going about their business, lines of worry etched in their faces as the furrows in their fields, but determined to see the day through. Over here, a small church is being built, though most of the roof remains unfinished, as is the bell tower. Construction seems to have paused as if the town folks are perhaps reconsidering. And over here, in a small copse of wood to the east of town, a lone figure, a hunter with a rifle, tracks freshly fallen blood. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Rudolph.
Sure. Rudolph is mid to late 30s. He is tall, fairly powerfully built, dressed for cold weather, obviously. He has red hair that has started to go gray, go a little bit white, especially at the temples and in his beard. And he has a very serious, kind of very weathered and craggy face. Like he has seen a lot and he has been exposed to the elements. And
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say he carries with him a rifle, like you were saying.
As you follow through the brush, you see on the ground in front of you several dots. You know you gave a killing blow to this deer that you've been hunting, but it seems to have a little bit of fight left in it, and it seems to have gone a little bit further into the woods and the place where it sort of rises up into a little plateau. Do you wish to pursue this animal, or are you content with letting it be?
Absolutely not. I need to find it.
You follow it and eventually arrive at an area that overlooks a little bit of a valley, and as you crest the hill and see your deer, who's losing a little bit of its power, faltering as it's sort of running a little bit further down bushes, you notice far below a cabin that you've noticed before from afar, but never really knew whose cabin it was or who it belonged to. You see two people emerge from the cabin. You see two people from the village. One is a man named Tord, who's one of the elder of the village, and the other one is a woman named Joanna, who is the sort of midwife figure in the village. They step out of the cabin, seem to be having some sort of heated argument from where you are. You perhaps ditch behind a tree a little bit so as not to interrupt, but you see them having perhaps some sort of argument. Tord is wearing a butcher's apron that is covered in blood, and he's wiping his hands with a rag. And as they're continuing to argue fairly heatedly, he removes it and moves over to a little fire pit that he's got and drops the rag and the apron in the fire and gets a little bit of a fire going. You see the smoke sort of rising, and eventually Joanna seems to have enough of him, and she just kind of waves him away and starts stalking angrily back towards the village. You see Tord look after her and shake his head, and then go back to the cabin and close the door, turn around, and looking very sort of dour and unhappy, stalks back towards the village also. What would you like to do?
Well, that's none of my business. Do I see the deer?
You do see the deer. He has faltered just a little bit further up along the way.
Okay. If I can get closer, I mean, that's my priority. Is it lying there, or is it still
It's kind of like
jumping?
started kind of faltering.
Okay.
It's like a little bit sort of on the ground. You can probably certainly give it the killing blow if you wish.
Yeah. I would like to not take another shot so close to somebody's house, but if I can get close enough to it.
Well, yeah, so the cabin appears empty now,
Okay.
and there's nobody else around the area, so you really don't think that it's that you risk any sort of issues doing this.
Then Rudolph will make it quick.
Rudolph makes it quick. You take a shot and finish off this deer, which looks like it'll provide a fair amount of meat. You can probably sell a good chunk of it down in the village to make a little bit of money, and of course have enough to left over for yourself. You will finish with the deer. Are you going to fix it there? Are you going to drag it off somewhere else? What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think Rudolph will heft the deer to the best of his ability, kind of sling it across his shoulders by the legs, and try to start carrying it back to his place, his home, where he can better. He's very fastidious, and he will use as much of the deer as he can, and he knows that if he tries to field dress it here, he will have to leave some of it behind.
Excellent. You will make your way back into town just as a bit of a slight rain and drizzle begins falling from the sky. And by the time you get there, it's probably early afternoon at this point. You, of course, got up early to do your hunt, but by the time you field dress the deer and get everything sort of going, it's probably about early afternoon at this point. And you can see off in the distance the coach that brings the mail and the various other things. You can see the dust trail of it as it's kind of coming down the road, and so you'll be arriving in the village sort of just in time. Speaking of the coach, aboard this coach of ours are 3 people, one of which we know already from earlier adventures, and that would be Vendela and her new friend Britta. Would you, Stephanie and KT, like to tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Vendela is the occultist. She is fairly new to the Hellstrom Society. The mystery of Issa was kind of her introduction to the group. She is a very pale, slender woman in her early 20s with gray eyes and auburn hair that she always wears over her ears. She's got freckles on her face, and she is currently sitting in the coach. She is twisting a gold ring around her finger and just kind of focused on the view outside, just going through her head of like, okay, how am I going to handle this? This should be, I can handle this. I've researched. I've come a long way since the first mystery. I've got this. It's going to be fine. I can handle it.
And sitting with you is a young woman and sort of animal in her lap. Katie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Britta is, she has the face of a child. She's only 18, so very young looking, but she has just a very built, ridiculously rippling muscles. She clearly is no stranger to hard labor. She's a servant, and she's very dedicated to her master and his wife. And she's sitting sort of uncomfortably, right, sort of scrunched in because she is of some impressive stature, cradling her impressive cat, her mink, and just sort of like petting it gently on in between its ears and scratching its nose and just whispering like, "Shh, it's okay, kitten. It's okay. It's okay."
The cat's already a classic character in the annals of Vaesen.
You gotta love a domesticated mink.
Absolutely, absolutely. Loving every second of it. Along with you in the coach is a British man, actually, an Englishman, well-dressed, with blonde hair, to the side, a nice little mustache, and he has a big case. And Vandella reminds you a little bit of another friend of yours, Johansson, because this man, August is his name, is a writer. He appears to be some sort of August Sharp is his name, and he appears to be interested in the same kind of things that you're into. And he goes on quite a bit about the fact that I've been traveling throughout Scandinavia. You see, I'm collecting some folk stories and mythical stories. We've been there's been a surge of interest back home in the old stories, in the old ways, and well, there's quite a number of writers back home. We're cornering the market on the British histories and so on and so forth. And so I thought perhaps Scandinavia would be a very bountiful place for me to come and collect some such stories. Some of the weird stories I've heard about, you wouldn't believe. There are apparently women who haunt men that sleep with other women at night and crawl into bed with them and give them nightmares. And there are these little things. They're called tauntaun, I believe. They're these little sort of rotund figures with beards and little red hats, and they hang about farms and places like this, and can either be friendly to the inhabitants or can be quite a pain in the old behind, if you know what I'm saying. Have you an interest in such stories yourself?
Oh, yes. My father's actually a bookseller, so I grew up with quite a variety of stories.
Well, would you care to share some?
Oh, a lot of folklore. Well, I'm not sure which ones you've heard before and which you haven't. There is a particularly interesting take on the Six Swans. I'm not sure if you've heard, where a stepmother
Oh,
curses...
just 1 minute. He pulls out a little pen thing and a little paper. Just 1 minute. I'll take this down. I've not heard this one. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Please go ahead.
Oh, yes, it's a king marries a new wife, and she's not fond of his children, so she curses them to turn into swans. However, only the 6 brothers get turned into swans, and the sister does not. And in order to free her brothers from this curse, she must remain silent and sew shirts of nettle for 7 years. And so 7 shirts to break the curse. So for 7 years, she cannot speak as she undergoes these trials.
Marvelous. I don't think I've ever heard. Usually one of the things that I've discovered is that wherever you go, there's a story that resembles a story that you've heard before somewhere else. But I'm not sure I've ever heard one that's it's very interesting. Very interesting. You don't mind if I take it down, do you?
No,
I
not at
can
all.
totally credit you if you wish.
I didn't make the story. It's one of those oral traditions and folklore, but I'm sure you'll hear variations of it and others as well as we're traveling through the countryside.
Well, this is quite fabulous, and that is one of the great things about these stories. I find it is the lack of direct ownership. They are very much a communal affair, and I find that it really helps make me feel connected to other people. These stories that they were telling hundreds of years ago and we're still telling today, it bridges the time. It bridges these years and brings us close to them. And he's such a cutie, and he reaches out to to pet the kitten, who promptly
Yeah, snaps at him 100%. And Britta just...
I see he's not gotten used to me yet. I would have thought after such a long coach ride he would have been used to me by now. What about you, young lady?
Kitten is not one for strangers. And I'm not one for stories.
You are not. What are you one for then?
Quiet.
Ah. Well then. Perhaps we could enjoy he starts putting away his pen and something. A little bit of quiet here in the last few moments. I think I see the town hoving into view there, and by Jove, what is that over there? Is the forest on fire or something? And as he sort of points out, you can see the smokestacks and all that are sort of rising a little bit on the horizon of this weird. So, what is that even doing here? That's quite an eyesore, isn't it?
Yes, this seems like it's not that old.
Looks out of place.
Very.
Well, I'm sure the villagers will have something to say about it. And he side-glancing Britta. Sometimes it's not the oldest things that are the most dangerous. As the coach continues and eventually will be pulling into town just as the rain starts a little pitty-patter on top of your wagon, we move into the town itself to the as of yet unfinished church where Father Victor is currently receiving. So, Father Victor, you've been here for a little while now, and the village has been sort of mixed in its reception of you, but do tell us a little bit about yourself here. What do we see as the camera flies in and comes in through one of the holes of the roof and settles in at ground level with you there?
Certainly. We see Father Victor, who is a tall man. He is almost as tall as Rudolph, but unlike Rudolph, he is very slender. He is around 24 years old, and his hair is shoulder length and dark and curly, tied back at the nape of his neck, and he is dressed in a priest's robe and collar, and attending to whatever business is happening today in the church.
Well, this business happens to be Mira Kling, the innkeeper's wife, one of the few here who has been very welcoming of you, who has come to deliver some extra bedding for you and some candles for the church, extra things that they had over at the inn. And as we come in, she's saying, I brought these for you. They're very clean. I saw to it myself, and I thought perhaps these candles would be useful also. And she gives you like a little box, and she's like kind of stacking that on your arms. You know, you get the bedding, and then you get the candles. And I did bake you a pie last night also, but it's very strange. I left it on the sill to cool, and when I returned, it was gone. And someone, I guess, thought they were being funny. They paid for it with a handful of barley kernel, and she reaches into her apron and she shows you the barley kernel that she's got.
First of all, Mira, this is very kind, very gracious, very generous of you. Thank you so much for all of your hospitality since I've been here.
It's a pleasure. We're so glad to finally have a representative of the church here, and this is, and just as the rain is starting, you can sort of see it coming down a little bit on the on the stone floor of the church. Like, I admit that this isn't the best, but the men will get to it. I assure you, it'll be done. We're putting some pressure on them, you know, and it'll get done eventually. I'm very sorry about this. Very sorry.
I am not concerned, and it is not on you to apologize. Again, you have been so gracious and hospitable. I am simply glad to be here.
We thank you. We are the ones who are very, very, very glad that you're here. In any case, if there's anything else I can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. I do have to get back. The coach is coming in, and we'll certainly have a few people wanting rooms and whatnot. And my husband kind of loses his mind when there's too many clients coming in. But if there's anything else that you need, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll do what I can. Have a good day, Father. God be with you.
And also with you.
And as she leaves, you hear the voice of another woman, Barrett, who has been the one helping you here. She's an older woman, gray hair, but very, very sort of refined and very, she's not rich, but she's, someone who takes pride in her appearance and is very poised. She was probably a teacher or something in another life. She, is always reading and speaks, I'm a teacher and I speak like a sailor, but she speaks in a very nice way. And she's been helping you around here a lot, and she's been doing a lot of cooking and things of that nature. And as you're kind of like not knowing too much what to do with, she comes over and she helps you with some of these things. She goes, "That's the second time I hear that today."
Which part?
The sweets disappearing and someone leaving barley corn and barley kernels in exchange. The Onstad, the grocer, 2 days ago, one took a whole jar of sweets right off the man's porch, left behind a handful of barley kernels. Probably some kids with a sweet tooth.
That would make sense.
Well, it's a good thing you're here, Father, because one day the kids are stealing sweets off of the grocer's back porch, and the next day, murders. It's a slippery slope, I tell you. It's a slippery slope.
I have no doubt they will come here for confession before that happens.
I wouldn't bet
I'm
on
sure
it,
we
Father.
can get them. I'm sure we can get them to see the error of their ways before it escalates to that degree.
Heathens, Father. We're surrounded by heathens. I dread to think of the uphill battle you have in front of you, cleansing this place. I don't want to say that it's a cesspit of moral rot, but it's a cesspit of moral rot. Let's not kid ourselves.
We've talked about this. I am not here to force anyone to convert. I am simply here for those when they are ready.
I'm not even talking about you making them convert. I'm just talking about you laying a little bit of stick about and just showing them the correct way to live. Anyways, I'll put these away. Maybe you want to run out and welcome the coach who's on board and see if there's any mail coming in from the head office in Uppsala for you.
Yes, I think that would be good. And thank you for all of your help.
I believe Rudolph was out hunting today, so we might have some fresh venison for dinner. I hope that'll be all right. If you do see him, tell him to bring some of it here, would you?
I certainly will.
Thank you, Father. And let's get the roof fixed and maybe the bell tower. And you should probably check in on Miss Ingersoll to see if the pews will be ready anytime soon. Slackers.
That is quite a to-do list. Yes, I will check in on all of those aspects of progress.
Idle hands are the toys of the devil. I'll get to it.
I've heard that before.
And so, as you will perhaps put your coat on and head out into the market square to see about this coach that's coming in, all of you now find yourselves converging on the market square area of the town. The area around there, for those of you who are new to the town, is very dry. You would expect it to be yellowed as it's early spring, but it seems to be very dry. And even though there's this bit of rain that's kind of been dropping down on things, it feels like life is having a little bit of difficulty kind of catching up, perhaps, on this spring. There's definitely a sort of hesitancy almost you feel of from spring and really kind of catching on. But the coach will eventually arrive and pull up in front of the wheat and shaft inn, and the coachman will go up and start disembarking the various boxes and valises and whatnot that are on top. And August will step down, and then we'll reach out to help Vendela down from the coach. And then
Thank you.
My pleasure. And then he'll reach to Britta and pull back his hand.
Yeah. We're just going to just at him.
It's quite the rustic charm, isn't it? I was expecting, I don't know, produce? Cows?
Perhaps the harvest is slow this year.
No. Well, it wouldn't be the harvest time yet, but I was sort of, I don't know, expecting a more farm-like environment. Let me help you with that. And he goes over and he helps the coachman with the valise. You, Father Victor, arrive on site. You see that there's a number of people from the village that have gathered around, everyone wanting to see if there's mail for them, and some people have ordered some things, and I get them in, and just a rubberneck also, and kind of see who's coming into town. You see the people disembark from the coach, and the first thing that strikes you, Father, is as you see the two women that follow the man coming off the coach, you instinctively and very quickly sense something in them. You recognize something about them that is very similar to you. You get the feeling that, like you, these two women probably have a little bit of a gift, a little bit of an ability to see sort of beyond. And Vendela and Britta, as you scan the crowd, your eyes stop on Father Victor, and you get the same sense that you got when you saw each other the first time, that here is someone who perhaps shares the same ability that you. And Father Victor, as you gaze upon them, you hear a voice in your ear that says, "Well, that one will be the death of you."
Would you care to be more specific?
Then you hear silence.
You know, it's not helpful when you do that.
Then quiet again.
And I think with that, if the two of them are looking at Father Victor, he is studying each of you intently in turn. But then just nods.
Benthala just has a very polite expression and just nods politely. Just looks unfazed.
Britta probably looks over to Vendela and is like, "Are you clocking this?"
Yep. Yep, it's been clocked.
Okay.
So he knows too.
All right.
That's how it works.
Do we need to... You want me to...
No. We it's a small town. We don't need to rile everyone up.
Okay.
And as
I'm
you
just offering it as a service.
I appreciate it, Britta.
And as you say that, you hear "Caw, caw," and you, in a flutter of wings, see a white raven come swooping down, alight on top of the coach, sort of look around a little bit, look at you, and then kind of fly up and land on Britta's shoulder and just stares at the cat. And the cat stares back.
You don't usually see one of those around.
I'm currently covered in animals.
Do you want me to shoo it away?
No, I think I like it.
You sound pained, are you sure?
I just don't want to scare him away.
You happen on the scene at just this time, Rudolph, and you see that your friend has elected to perch itself on the shoulder of a young woman who's holding some sort of feral animal in her arms, like it's a domesticated cat or something.
Really like it's a baby.
And as you look upon them, and then as the rest of you look upon Rudolph, you will see and feel the same thing that you felt and when you looked at Father Victor. You are muted, sir.
I sure am. Rudolph, sorry, I was trying to find the bird's name. Rudolph will whistle for his bird friend. Raven.
Who will look at you and then go back to staring at the cat.
Uh-oh.
Baby. It's okay, kitten.
And Rudolph, I think, will make his way over there just with this giant deer carcass kind of slung across his shoulders.
Oh.
And will try to whistle a little more insistently, like maybe it didn't hear. Maybe Raven didn't hear him.
The best way to describe Raven's reaction is this.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Kitten does not control himself around raw meat and will probably try to eat that deer carcass.
So you see scooting out of her arms this thing, which you identify as a mink. You're like, fuck. But this mink comes bounding towards you, and you can see in its eyes, it's going for the meat.
Absolutely. And I don't want it to do that because I might not be able to sell this if it has bite marks all over it. So I think Rudolph is going to start just backing up away from it and is going to call out to Britta, I guess, and say, is this yours? Is this, can you get it?
Yeah,
Please?
Yeah. So Britta stomp over and scruff it. Bring it back. Hold it like a baby.
It's still staring the deer. The Raven, by this point, has flown off your shoulder and has come around and is circling.
We'll get Kitten some meat when we get the rooms.
Yeah, I know. Shh. I'm gonna like tuck him into my like overcoat so he doesn't look at me anymore. And I'm gonna go. Is that one yours? Because he thinks I'm a tree.
Rudolph will look at the deer and say, I guess that depends on your definition. I killed it.
No, I meant the bird.
The bird doesn't really belong to anybody.
Apologies for that. It was just long trip, needs food.
Long trip from where?
Uppsala, actually.
That is a long trip. What brings you out here?
I letter from a friend asking us to come by.
Father Victor's around, right?
He is. In fact, he is likely making his way a bit closer at this point.
And as you do that, I think Rudolph will nod at what you've said, and then will nod at Victor and say, Father, with some definite tension.
Rudolph, it's good to see you again.
Anyway.
Tension grows.
Well, imagine I've caused enough of a distraction. I'm sure you've got places to be.
As you
And I've got things to address. He kind of hikes the deer up higher on his shoulders.
And as you do that, you hear, you would recognize the voice of Jera as he cuts through the crowd and goes, Miss Ekstrom! Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I was hoping you would come. And you see this this man comes in. Now, the two of you would know him as your Ekstrom. His father lives in the village. He is a lumberjack, usually works in the north, and he's only here a few days out of the year. And he came back recently, a few months ago, because his father had taken ill. He is a very broad-shouldered man with red hair. And you know that he just doesn't really like it here and doesn't really get along with most of the people in town. And he cuts through the crowd, and he's got, as usual, he's got his like chopping axe with him, and he comes over and he drops it, and he comes over to Vandella, and he's like, "I'm so glad you're here, Miss Engstrom. I was hoping you would come. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming."
Of course, Mr. Engstrom, you look well as ever. How's your family?
My father, and for the first time, you see you're a little bit kind of flustered. My father's well, he's not doing as well, perhaps, as we would like, but no, fear not. He when I was summoned to come and see him here when we first met, the letter I got said that he was way worse than I, and so it was a relief to come here and find him not. But he's okay. How have you been? It's been such a long time. I really didn't know if you would come. How have you been? You also look quite healthy.
Thank you. I've been well. I've recovered from that boat ride.
That was quite an ordeal.
It was, and the others are doing well. They're taking their own time to recoup from that as well. But yes, I've been enjoying some quiet after all of that. Just doing some research. Oh, this is Britta. She's here to help me sort things out for you.
Oh, hi, Miss Britta. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name's Jera. Is Mr. Johansson here, or Killian, or Margaret? Oh, how is Margaret doing?
Oh, she's doing quite well. She had a bit of a rougher time, her and Killian, but they're doing well. She is, I believe she still sees that doctor for drinks. They get into the gin quite a bit, the two of them.
They were quite the pair, yes. But I'm glad that they seem to be doing well. So
and
it's
Elias
just...
is working on a new novel as we speak, so...
I can't wait to read it. Wait, am I kidding? I don't read, but I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Is it just the two of you then?
It is, yes. Things have been quite busy in Uppsala, but I came as soon as I could.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine. As this discussion is going on, you feel Father Victor a tug on your sleeve. When you turn on, there's one of the villagers there that goes, "Father, I think there's a..." And as he says that, you look beyond, and all of you will hear a woman's voice yell out, "Stop it, don't touch me." And as you look up, you will see a couple of the villagers have sort of gathered. The woman who yelled, both Father Victor and Rudolph would recognize as Carla Ingersoll. She runs the sawmill that her father left her when he died, and she's the one that's making your pews currently, Father Victor. And you can see that she's trying to get away from one of the other farmers, Elias Sorensen, who's yelling after, "Your father would be rolling in his grave if he knew you were using his mill and his precious tools to make things for the church." Then he spits at her, and as he does, this other farmer, Peter Gronberg, sort of steps in and grabs him and is like, "That's enough out of you, Elias." And there's this whole scuffle that starts, and people are pushing each other, and someone's like, "Get that priest out of here. He doesn't belong here. We don't need his kind." And there's like this whole kerfuffle that's sort of going on there. What would you like to do?
Rudolph would like to say under his breath to Victor, "Popular as ever."
And I think under his breath, Victor will just say, "Listen, you chose to stop wearing the collar. I didn't."
Well, so would you like to do anything, or what do you do?
Go ahead, Will.
No, I think the Rudolph would reply back after a second of quiet. He would say, "The thing about an armistice, Father, is that it only lasts until it's been broken.
I haven't broken it yet.
I think Rudolph is pretty content to not get involved in this situation. So he's just kind of making comments to Victor under his breath. But I think at this point, I'll probably step back even a little bit more, like he's going to leave, but he's going to stick around at least to see the end of this altercation.
So let's go around here, and I just want you to tell me sort of what your character does in the next few moments here. We'll start with Father Victor.
Father Victor wants to get the attention fully on him. He doesn't think it's fair that someone who is simply doing work is being punished and attacked for that when the anger is directed at him. And so he is going to raise his voice a bit to be heard over the crowd and say, I'm standing right here. If there are things you wish to say to me, I am here for you to direct that anger towards. Please do not direct it at those who are not deserving of it.
And as he says that, are Vandella and Britta responding?
Vandella is currently watching because she just got here. She doesn't tend to cause a stir for reasons, but she kind of leans into Yor and says, "Priest isn't very popular, I take it."
Well, with some people he's not. There are some people who are very glad to have him here, but some of the older folk are not as enthused as some of the others.
They feel it's a threat to the old ways.
There's a lot of confusion currently. People don't know exactly. The world is moving fast, and people don't know exactly what will work and what don't. And some people find it more difficult than others, I think, to move forward. As that's going on, Britta, what is Britta doing?
I think Britta's probably following Vendella's lead as far as like whether or not we're directly getting involved in this, but I do think she's gonna get Kitten to assume the position, so she's gonna get him around her neck and sort of like roll up her sleeves just in case she needs to, get ready for a fight. So she's fully like, all right, are we gonna tussle or?
Is this on? Is this on?
Yeah.
Can you, as you're doing that, can you please give me a vigilance roll? So you'll be rolling your logic plus your vigilance.
Ooh.
And while that's going on, Rudolph, you will be...
watching, mostly, but I would also like to keep an eye and make sure that things aren't getting out of hand.
Okay, you do notice Tord that you saw earlier is sort of coming by, and he's kind of one of the leaders of the village, but he's also kind of in the anti-priest faction, and he's sort of marching in and kind of looking like he's going to sort of fixing to sort of get involved in that. What did you get, Britta?
So my logic is 4. So I had a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 6, and then my vigilance is 1. So. Is it the total of all of it?
Yeah, so you roll a number of
14.
dice. No, sorry.
Okay.
You roll a number of dice equal to all of those.
That's what it is.
And then you're looking for 6s.
Yeah, so I got 1.
Right, so that's good. All you need is 1 6. I do have a house rule that if you roll 3 6s, the devil's on your side and you achieve a singularly awesome result. But for now, you get the 6, which is okay. And as all of this is kind of going on and you see this commotion that's happening, and Yor and Vandella are kind of conspiring on the side, and Father Victor is kind of standing up and drawing attention to himself, and Rudolph the Hunter seems to kind of trying to appear nonchalant and not involved, but still kind of very much keen. You see another man across the way who's sort of leaning against a post and smoking a cigar. He's tall, burly. He's got a shaved head with just a little bit of crown of reddish hair around his head and a bit of a beard, and he's staring straight at you, almost kind of like he knows you, but not that way. He kind of just get the feeling that he's kind of scoping you out, and you have no clue if it's a she looks good or she looks dangerous or she looks crazy or whatever, but he's definitely kind of...
But it's definitely all of them. But it's
Yes,
It could be
exactly.
all three.
100%
Could be all
all
three,
of them.
exactly.
All right.
All right.
I'll like pull my hood up just a little bit more.
All right, so Father Victor, you stand up and declaim your presence, and Peter Gronberg, who was helping Carla Ingersoll, sort of pulls her away, and him and the other guy are kind of squaring off. And as he's staring at him, the guy who started all this, Elias Sorensen, the farmer, still staring at Gronberg, will be addressing you when he speaks, and you can clearly tell from his tone. He's like, well, anytime you feel like tussling, Father, you just step up and we'll see exactly how much of an impact you're about to have in this town.
That's not how I solve conflict.
How do you do it then? Prayers, homilies, spray some holy water about and hope your God fixes everything for you?
That would depend on the particular situation, but I find that words are more effective than anything else. I don't see any need for violence.
Words don't make crops grow, Father. You can stand up in your pulpit all day, preaching left, right, and center, and none of it's going to bring back our crops if... the hell with it.
I don't know how many times I have to tell you that I am not trying to force anyone to change their ways. I am simply a presence for anyone who wants to consider a different way of being.
And as you say that, Carla has come next to you, and she's like, don't waste your breath on him, Father. You know you're welcome here. You know most of the people are happy to have you here. There's just a couple of people who have difficulty dealing with the fact that killing animals and spreading their body parts out around town is not going to do anything much either. So don't worry about him. I'm fine.
Are things still heating up? Like, are there still people that are like...
So they're still kind of squaring off. At this point, Tord kind of comes in and steps up, and he's sort of like the alderman of the village. He's an older man, and people know him well, and he's kind of like the, spiritual leader in some ways. Anyways, he's sort of the person. He kind of steps up, and he looks at everyone, and he looks at the two farmers, and he's like, well, you're not going to make anything grow by beating each other into a pulp either, and certainly not over him. So how about you pack it away and just move apart for now? And it says that the two men obviously sort of cowed. One of them sort of steps back, and Peter Gronberg comes in, stands over to where, and he's asking Carla Ingersoll if she's okay, and the other men are kind of staring, and Tord will turn towards him and go, all right, show's over. You got your mail. You saw who came off that coach. Y'all can go on back home, go back to your jobs, go back to your tasks. They ain't gonna sit there waiting for you. Go. And soon the crowd starts to disperse, and as that's happening, Tord sort of looks over and just kind of shoots, not a threatening or sort of villainous look, but kind of just look of dislike towards the father, and he says, nothing like stirring up the populace, eh, Father? And before you can even answer, he turns his back and walks away. Yor will come over and say, are you okay, Father?
I'm fine. I, again, just wish that there was not this divide that is bringing so many people into conflict with each other.
Well, Father, Ms. Vendela here, if I may introduce you, this is Ms. Vendela Ekstrom from Uppsala and her friend Britta. I've asked Ms. Vendela to come here specifically to deal with this. Do you think we could perhaps go to the church and speak in quiet for a little bit? I think you should probably hear what Ms. Vendela and I wish to talk about. You might be able to shed some light or perhaps help guide us a little bit in this matter.
Of course, though, I will warn all of you that it will not be, and he gestures towards the rain coming down and says, much drier in there, as there is no roof.
They haven't fixed that yet?
Not yet.
Ah,
No.
damn it.
Not as such.
Carl Ingersoll says, you'll have your pews by Monday, though, Father, so that's something. I'll tell you what, Father, as soon as I'm done working on the pews, I will get some of my men to come out and at least put something temporary up there, if only to get you out of the wind. You do know that the kitchen part in the back is covered, so there's some dry space there, but I'll send some of my men over to at least give you a little bit of protection for a while temporarily while we sort out the rest of this church building business. Thank you. I have to get going. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate you stepping up. It sounds like no problem, Miss Ingersoll. And so the two of them will sort of take off, and Jera will say, Father, are we?
Yes, of course. And he will lead the way over to the church.
As they turn, Rudolph, you'll see Hraven again come circling down and alight on Britta's shoulder. Sort of look at you, and you can't know for sure because it's a bird, but you could swear he arches an eyebrow at you.
This is good. I like this.
I'm gonna roll my eyes at Hraven, and I think, but when they're like out of eyesight, Rudolph is gonna try to follow secretly at a distance, because if they're talking about church stuff, he wants to know about it.
Sorry, I'm just imagining you stealthing with the deer carcass on
I
your
was
back.
gonna say, I think he would stash the deer, maybe just quickly truss it up by a tree branch.
Yeah, you
On
could
the edge of
probably,
the-
you could probably, like,
Sorry.
the inn is close by, so you could probably drop it off there, and you know that they would cut off whatever they want, and then you could come
Yeah.
and pick up the rest after if you wanted.
Cool. All right, I will do that. But I definitely want to try to eavesdrop on whatever Father Victor is up to.
All right. So as you head out, the lot of you, towards the church, you arrive, and the church is over here, the town. So you were just around here in the sort of
Okay.
town square. This is the Sheaf and Stock Inn. The Ingersoll sawmill is up over there. And yours house is over here. You'll point it out as you're sort of walking away, and you'll say, I'd go there, but my father's resting and I don't want to.
Oh, of course. No need to trouble him.
And you'll end up here, and the church is built up here, and as you approach it, you can see that it's clearly a work in progress. They've built the walls up, and part of the roof has been built up, but there's still scaffolding, and there's still a lot of lumber and bricks and stuff in the yard, but it looks like construction has halted, at least for the moment. But you'll be guided inside, and when you come in, you will see Barrett there, who has been preparing in the kitchen to hopefully make dinner if the father was to bring anything. You come in, and she's like, well, what's this now? You picking up strays now, Father?
We are just here for a brief meeting to talk about some town business.
I don't suppose you picked up any of that meat I was talking about?
My apologies, I did not. Things got a bit difficult, and I must say I did not have a chance to inquire with Rudolph as to
Oh,
whether we
that's
could have a cut of that
fine.
meat.
All right, well, come and sit in the kitchen here at least. Avoid getting too wet. I'll head down to the village and see if I can find Rudolph myself. I've put the kettle on. There's tea. You might have to add a little bit more water to it.
Of course. Thank you, Barrett.
So Barrett will head out. You will find yourselves in the kitchen.
I did have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
So I remember from Issa, because of Vendela's Holdafolk mother, Elias's sixth sense picked up a little extra ping off of her. JD, does Victor have sixth sense? I would ask, is Victor getting a little extra ping off of Vendela's presence?
Oh, you have sixth sense, do you? Well, I knew someone had sixth sense earlier, and I was sure it was Rudolph, and I went to check. And Rudolph didn't. I was like, oh, maybe I dreamed this.
Yeah, no, it's the priest.
So go ahead and make an investigation roll, Victor, please. So that's 4 dice for your logic and 1 for your investigation. Good call, Stephanie. Thanks for it.
Thank you. Just causing more problems for my character.
1-6.
Awesome. So you, as you approach the church, and maybe it's kind of being close to the church again that kind of tweaks your senses a little bit, but you, as Vendela passes into like the corner of your eye, like passes by you or something as you open the door, you see something strange about her. For a moment, you get the sense that there's something about her that is somewhat otherworldly. It's a little bit kind of like what you feel when you know there's a Vaesen in the area, but certainly nowhere near that level. It's more like a whiff, that there's something about her that's a little off. And when Britta walks by you, you get the exact same thing off of her.
Do I still have the Raven on me?
Yeah, the Raven you've
Great.
known for a long time now. Since you've known Rudolph, the Raven is weird.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna pet it.
Well, when you walk into the church, the Raven will sort of fly off and...
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, sorry. They'll fly off and
Okay.
you'll sit at the entrance of the church, like on one of the gargoyles that's being built or something on the outside of the water spout.
Okay, but for the record, I did pet it.
He let you pet it.
Good.
He seemed to be very friendly. And you get kind of the same thing with Britta, just a slightly different flavor. Kind of like one was vanilla ice cream, the other one was chocolate ice cream, but they were both kind of ice cream. But you definitely have that kind of feeling. Rudolph, will you be attempting to maybe sidle up to a window or something to try and hear what's going on? Rudolph?
Sorry, yes. I would be trying to sidle up to a window, yes, to listen in.
So you'll be able to catch most of what they're going to sort of talk about. So do you do anything with that information, Father Victor, at this point? Or
Not at this point. I mean, he looks at the two of them for a few beats longer than is purely natural to do, but then just focuses on getting inside, getting to the kitchen, making sure there's enough water in the kettle, getting tea ready for everyone, and just having polite conversation as everything is being set up.
And as the two of them went by you, you heard the voice in your ear again that said, now you see what I see. Interesting, isn't that?
You are, as always, much less than helpful.
Thank you. So you'll walk into the kitchen and you will find the water. You'll add some water to the kettle and boil some more tea. You'll find that she has left a little plate of cookies. You're happy to see that they have not been replaced by barley kernels. You'll put it on the table. Jera will be like, oh, are these Britta's cookies?
I believe they are.
Ah, these are the best. I remember having these when I was a kid, when she was a schoolmistress. They always bring back mixed feelings of joy at the cookie and thinking of the strap.
Well, that is very dark.
I know, so much in this town is just fraught with darkness.
Well, hopefully we can bring some light into the mix.
Well, that is why I've asked Vandella to come, Father. Thank you very much, Father, for receiving us like this. I wrote to Miss Vandella. You remember, Father, I told you a little bit about the adventure that we had on the boat on the way here when we were stuck in the ice and there was some sort of creature aboard that was killing people, and you, of course, do not believe me, but perhaps now you will find a little bit more truth to what I was saying. Miss Vandella was with some of her friends aboard the boat, and they were the ones who saved everybody. They saved all our lives with their skills. They see things. And excuse me, Miss Vandella, if I'm speaking out of turn and saying things I probably shouldn't, but Ms. Vandella and her friends see things differently than the rest of us do. And I wrote to her asking her if she would come and take a look at what's going on here, because I'm afraid, Father, that someone might be about to do something very terrible.
Well, first of all, let me say that situation on the ship sounds quite harrowing.
It was. Don't know how much detail Mr. Engstrom went into it. With regards
Only
to
what
the
I
creature.
knew, but I, unfortunately, after I was unceremoniously taken out of the game by that Russian woman, I unfortunately didn't see much. I only heard what you said, but I know that whatever it was that you followed onto that island and hunted down was not of this world.
No, it was not exactly this world. But that doesn't seem to be what's going on here. You'd mentioned a sacrifice?
Yes, so perhaps I'll explain the story from the beginning. As I explained in my letter, and as most of you know, the town used to follow more ancient ways, and one of the things that they used to do to ensure a proper harvest was to make a sacrifice to the Landvitir, the spirits of the land. And Vandella, you would know that that spirit that you faced at the end of the last, that I was a Landvitir, but it was angry because of the presence of Lockspindler, the industries. They had sort of corrupted the area, and so it was unduly angry, and so instead of protecting people, it was devastating things.
Yep.
To what my father said, what were called the Landvitir, and they would sacrifice a deer or something else of the like, and they would separate it into different parts according to a very old custom. There was like a rhyme or a bit of a saying. They would say it was quite precise. They would say, "Hearts, lungs, and livers near the forest for he who hungers. Eyes, tongues, and ears by the river for she who fears. Awful by the weeping rock for those there who often mock. And the fleshy and naughty bits by the ancient stump for she who sits." And so they would cut up the different parts of the animal and take it to these 4 landmarks, 4 places, and in doing so would ensure that the spirits of the land would in turn see to their well-being and ensure bountiful crops. I guess perhaps about 60 years ago, this practice stopped 70, 80 years ago perhaps, but a few years ago we started having bad harvests again.
Mhm.
Some people in town started talking about perhaps reviving this practice. Last year, before you arrived, Father, last year, as people were discussing whether or not to return to this practice, and it was the same people as always. It was Tord and Joanna and those people who were pushing for us to go back to the old ways. And some people were already talking about trying to bring a priest here. But as they were discussing this and trying to come to a decision as a village what they would do, the news came that someone had moved ahead and performed the sacrifice, except when the people went to these places, they found human body parts. It was a human that had been killed and harvested this way for the various pieces that had to go into the sacrifices. And I guess people were afraid at that point. They didn't know what to do. Everyone sort of just huddled close and waited to see what would happen. And last year's harvest was incredible, the best we've had in 30, 40 years. And so they're starting to talk again this year about having to do this, but now, of course, there are people whispering that the potency of such a sacrifice is probably enhanced. And I don't think that the village would gather together to sacrifice a human being, but I'm afraid that maybe one person might take it into their own hands, because obviously someone already did last year, and I'm just afraid of what might happen.
The man who was sacrificed, was he a villager?
He was a worker from the
Those
company that is...
smokestacks?
Yes, they're Lockspindler, I believe they're called, Lockspindler Industries.
Oh.
I believe they're building a pipeline to bring their oil through from the coast. I don't know too much about it. They've been there for a few years. You know of them?
They had a rather failed whaling and fishing company on the island we were frozen near. It looks like some bad business practices had unfortunate ramifications for the entire village on that island. So that is... So when did you say the Lockspindler came here?
About 3 years ago. That's what my father says.
And the harvest started going bad about 8 years ago, you said? 6 to 8?
Oh, yes, around that time.
Okay. Interesting. Do the workers and the company people of Lockspindler frequent the village, or do they live out on the factory grounds?
Not really. I think they used to, perhaps in the beginning, but I think the villagers are not taking too kindly to them, and they found this place to be rather hostile to them, so they keep to themselves now. They bring in everything they need by boat off the river. They've sealed off chunks of the river that leads to here so that only they can use it. I was thinking perhaps we could begin by visiting the sites. The 4 sites where these sacrifices were laid out, and perhaps see if there's anything there that could give you some clues.
Yeah, I can certainly study the ritual sites. Maybe there's some symbol or something that I could make sense of that might give us a way to start.
What about you, Father? I know this is a little bit outside your wheelhouse, but would you perhaps consider coming along? I'm certain your guidance and your wisdom would be much appreciated on a venture such as this.
Well, this seems like something that would be much more for the authorities to handle. I do not see any concern with coming along and offering whatever guidance I can.
If what is going on here is similar to what we experienced on that boat, and what Miss Vendella and her friends experienced on the island, I don't think the authorities will have the wherewithal to deal with that. And perhaps we are only dealing with a matter of someone who's gone deranged and has committed a crime. And if that's the case, then perhaps then we can bring in the authorities. But I get a feeling kind of deep in my bones that there's more to it than this.
It's good to be certain.
All right. I think we can probably go now. It seems to have the rain seems to have lessened. I will go out and try to find someone to guide us. I unfortunately don't know really well where these sites are myself. I'll go and try to find someone who might know the area a little bit better and might be able to guide us there. If you want to wait here for me, perhaps we could use a little bit of provisions. We might be gone for several hours. I'll go and try and find a guide for us, and I'll come back if that's okay.
Yeah.
Does your cat still need food, Britta? He seemed. Is it a he or a she or?
It's a he, and yes.
But does he prefer like
meat,
like venison, human?
whatever, as long as it's raw.
I was making it.
Seems a safe bet. There was a fresh one that hunter fellow had. Let's go with that.
I don't know. He seemed like he didn't want to give it up.
I mean, you can buy. We could have your. I give your some money. Just be like, just. Buy
Oh,
some
please,
off of him.
please, no, absolutely not. I'll stop at the inn on the way out to try and find a guy, and I will make sure they have rooms for the two of you tonight.
Thank you.
And at the same time, I'll try and find some victuals for our. He goes to pet the cat, and then just kind of pulls his hand back.
Don't pet
He's
him.
very protective of his owner.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Is it okay, Father, if I leave you alone with my friends here? Thank you so much, Miko, for hanging out. Appreciate you. Have a good evening. Is it okay if I leave you alone with my friends here for a few moments?
Yes, of course. I mean, it would be my honor to offer them hospitality.
All right, I'll be right back, and you'll head out to go and try and find someone.
Can Rudolph be leaning very casually against a tree right outside the door?
With
like
Raffin
minding
just
his
on a
own
branch
business.
on top of you.
Yeah.
You'll step on and go, ah.
Do
We're-
you need something? You're
Were you here to speak to Father Victor, or?
just passing by, feeding the birds.
Well, that's perfect. Actually, you know the area quite well, don't you?
I suppose I do.
The 4 sites, the Weeping Rock, the Stump, you know those areas?
I do. Yeah. Why do you ask?
Well, I was going to take Ms. Vendella and Britta on a tour of the area to show them some of the sites, and they're into these sort of mythical places, folkloric places with folkloric ties, and so I thought perhaps I would take them there, but unfortunately I'd get lost just stepping 100 feet outside of town. So I was gonna go look for a guide, but if you're there, I could pay you for your time. And absolutely, I could pay you for your time if you wanted to accompany us and guide us to those places.
I've got a bit of time on my hands. There's a good hunt. Yeah, I could do that.
Excellent. I'm gonna just head out to the inn and book some rooms for Ms. Vendella and her friends, and maybe get a little bit of meat for the. What is that thing? It's not a cat.
It's a mink, I think. They make coats out of them.
Oh, I don't think we should try making a coat out of this one. I think this one would make a coat out of you.
I would recommend it. She seems very attached to it.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go do that. Do you want to go in and talk with them? Do you want to stay out here and just sort of be
Sure, I could introduce myself, I imagine.
All right, perfect. I'll be back in just a few minutes. If you want to go right in, they're in the kitchen in the back. You just look for the only dry spot in town, and you'll head on down. You'll walk into the room, and you will find them all sitting around the kitchen table having a spot of tea.
Hello again. I just happened to
Hello.
bump into your outside. Said he was looking for a guide. That'd be me.
Oh, wonderful. This is Britta. I'm Vendela Ekstrom, and your name is
Rudolph.
Rudolph. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure's all mine.
Rudolph,
Sorry,
it's
my-
amazing he found you so quickly.
Just feeding the bird.
Sorry, my mink tried to eat your catch.
Yeah, we'll call it even. We'll call it fine.
Okay.
You train that thing?
Oh, you don't train this thing.
Okay. Seems safe. Seems great. Seems like a very good idea.
Mhm. It's just like wrapped tightly around Britta's neck,
If you
like a
don't touch,
fellow constrictor.
if you don't touch Kitten, it'll generally leave you alone. He
Mhm.
will generally leave you alone.
Good to know.
Yeah. Oh, don't touch Kitten and don't touch me, and probably don't touch Vendela as well.
I'm not going to touch anybody.
Good.
Tea?
Yes, could I
Yeah.
get you a cup?
You wonderful. Thank you.
As you sit down,
Tension. She's just unconsciously making sure her hair is hiding her ears. Just this is fine.
This is a low growl coming. Kittens.
Just handling it. It's fine.
so as you sit down for tea, and this tension settles as you all kind of just side eye each other and the mink. Outside the window, you hear "Caw, caw," as Raven is sitting by the window and casts a little bit of an eye at you. We will take a short break right here, and then when we come back, we will we'll hit the road and go and see what these sacrificial spots are, which is bound to be very uplifting and just a light little walk through the meadows.
Totally
to
fine.
go see some sacrificial spot like one does. Thanks so much. You've been amazing, everybody, hanging out with us. We appreciate you. Reminder that we have a giveaway coming up. If you want to take part in it, simply type !drawing. We will be drawing a giveaway is a core book of Vaesen, a PDF of the core rule book for Vaesen. So !drawing to enter. We will take a short break, and we will be right back in a few minutes. So please don't go away. Hang out. We'll be back. Thank you very much. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. We super appreciate it. We are in the midst of our Vaesen game. The characters have just learned about sort of what's going on here, that someone has taken into their hands to perhaps conduct a little harvest ritual that unfortunately cost someone their life last year, and now some of the villagers are a little bit concerned about what might happen this year, so they've asked Vendela and Britta to come in from Uppsala to investigate the matter. And tagging along with them now are Father Victor, the local priest who appears to have his own little issues, and the local hunter named Rudolph with a peculiar bird who seems to be quite taken with Britta's peculiar cat.
They like each other.
Cats sleeping with birds. What's going on in this place? And so, as you will set out with Yor and Rudolph heading out to the holy sites, if you will, where these sacrifices were left out for the Landvitir in years past. He will take you to a few spots. So he will take you to this little cave down here at the bottom, where he who hungers apparently lives there, or used to live there in any case, one of the spirits. So they would leave some of the parts of the animal here. Another place of note that he will take you is here, the ancient stump, where supposedly some woman sits there, perhaps. We'll see about that. Another place you will go is this ancient abandoned windmill, where apparently she who fears would once reside. And finally, at this little island with a spot on it called Weeping Rock. Over here in the distance, of course, you can see Lock Spindler Industries going full tilt. It's looking very much like Isengard. And one of the things you'll notice as you travel along with Rudolph and the others is that the land seems to be very affected around here. The forest over here is completely dead. And the water has a sort of weird color to it. The land also is very brittle and dry, and all the grass and all the flora that grows here seems to be kind of sickly and sort of just not doing well overall. You will head out with your little pack of goods that Britta will have provided for you. Yor will have come back and said he found rooms for Vendela and Britta at the inn for that night, and he brings back a little bit of meat for Vendela's kitten to feast upon, some raw meat, which it eats with absolute just glee, and it kind of scares.
Honestly, vigor. Like this meat is just
kind of scares a whole bunch of you. And as you're going around to these different spots, you will first travel to the cave of where he who hungers was supposed to be there. All of you with your extended senses, and especially Father Victor with your sixth sense, as you approach this cave that is just a very small hole, it's no bigger than, like, a man couldn't fit in it. It's too small, but it's bigger than what you would expect from like a groundhog or something like that. So it's kind of just big enough to maybe like a very large dog through or something like that. And it looks very dark inside, and you can see that there's kind of a flat stone that is stained by decades of blood having sort of dried on it. But all of you, and especially Father Victor, will sense that there is no longer anything here. You will sense a kind of residual energy, perhaps, of some creature having been here at some point, but it feels kind of empty and long gone. And when you look around, there are no tracks or anything like that. And Yor will tell you that, just going to go and see my... Yor will tell you this is where they found the heart, lungs, and liver of the man last year on this rock there. But you will not really see anything. You'll investigate the area and find it very empty. You will move on eventually to across the water to this place called the Ancient Stump, and when you approach it, you'll see the forest behind it that is kind of desiccated and dead, and the bark is kind of rotten and kind of fallen off, and there are no branches, and you don't hear the sound of birds or anything like that. And you'll approach this giant birch stump. As you do so, if you wish, you could. You could give me a learning roll, anyone who wishes. So that would be your logic plus your learning. If you have any sort of talent that gives you information about lore, just looking. I don't think anyone has anything quite like that. I don't want anything quite like it, so we'll go straight forward with the logic plus learning. Anyone get any successes?
6s, right?
Yeah, looking for 6s. All right, so all of you have heard stories about tree wives, and they're an old folk tale of these sort of fae-like women or dryad-like women, perhaps, that lived in birch trees. And it's one of those classic sort of stories where they would lure men to their force, and the men would come out and sort of never be seen again. They're called ash wives, and they lived in these giant trees. And as you take a look around the area, you kind of get a sense that maybe that's what was here before. But the tree has been cut, and a long time ago. When you look at the rings of the tree, you see this tree was ancient, very, very old, older certainly than even the forest that's around it. But it was cut a long time ago. It looks like it was cut not by machines or anything like that, like it was cut by hand, and you would say that certainly decades have gone by since it's been cut. So it's not anything that's recent. But you get the feeling that this was probably the sort of spirit that was around here, and needing pacifying. You will move on again across the river and eventually to the sort of damaged mill. And same thing here by that tree is where they would leave the fleshy and knotty bits. So I'll let you sort of decide what you think that was. The eyes, tongues, and ears went by the river where the windmill is. And as you approach, you see the windmill is old, falling apart. And sort of the same thing, there is sort of nearby an old block, like an old stone block that would have been used, like maybe a cornerstone or something for one of these ones. It is also kind of stained dry with blood. But as with the other two places, you don't feel any sort of energy or the presence of anything here. Yor will tell you a story he heard when he was a younger man. There was apparently here an old lady who would sit by the river, just between the river and this windmill, and would moan consistently from morning to night. And the men, when they would come out and try to fish, would be afraid and would not be able to get their job done. So she had to be appeased so that the fishermen would be left in peace to do their fishing. And there was this story about how back in the day, when this used to be the sort of one of the windmills of the town, that the miller's wife found her husband had hung himself in the windmill one night, and she had fallen into despair, and in doing so and in crying, her heart had broken, and she had died on the spot. And people believed that it was her spirit that had come to inhabit this place and needed appeasement. But same thing, you arrive here and it feels kind of void and empty of any sort of supernatural feeling. You're sort of starting to think that there may be not a lot to any of this. It's clear that someone thought enough of this place to leave, to kill someone, and to leave a parts behind. You'll take a boat, and you will find yourselves heading for that little island in the middle of the little lake there. And as you arrive to the island is not very imposing. Perhaps a few 100 feet in length and half that in width. Deciduous trees crown the land, and in the center stands this strange stone, taller than any of you and polished like marble. It sits amidst the trees, ancient, atavistic, holding secrets you can only guess at. And halfway up one side, at about eye level, you see fresh, clear water pouring straight out of the rock itself, as if from its pores. This is the Weeping Rock, and through it, the land sheds tears that will likely never dry. You arrive on this island along with your... There is in fact a sheep there that is just eating away. One of the things about this island is that there is grass, the trees are beautiful, look very healthy. The water that's running out of that rock is limpid, crystal clear. The air feels a little bit fresher here and, you know, more like spring on this little island. What would you like to do?
I would like to... Oh, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. So polite.
Vinland's gonna investigate the rock, specifically where the water is coming out of it.
Okay. And let's go around the table and see what everyone wants to do. Will, you were going to speak, so about you go next.
Yeah, I was going to just look around for weird tracks or any signs of anything strange.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you very much. All right, kind of you. We are in the midst of our little Vaesen exploration of a little island that is remarkably nice. So obviously people are suspicious. And, you know, there's one living inhabitant there. One sheep silently grazing away. Thank you so much for the raid. We do have a drawing going on tonight. If you want to get in on it, please do so. We are giving away a copy of the Vaesen Core Rulebook, thanks to our generous sponsors over at Free League. So if you want to get into it, just simply type !drawing and you will be entered. So you will be looking for tracks. Father Victor.
I think I'm just going to move a bit away from the rest of the group and see if the voice has any opinions on what is happening here.
The voice, and suddenly Simon Cowell turns around and goes. And KT.
I think... does this rock seem climbable? Can I try to climb a rock?
It's very smooth, as I said. You can give it a shot if you want.
Yeah, I mean, like...
It is very, very polished, almost as if it has continuously been underwater, but obviously it is not, so who knows who and...
I got a +2 to agility, so...
Okay. All right. So I will say then, Will and Stephanie give me investigation checks.
Yeah.
Father Victor, you can, if you want, use your sixth sense.
I would love to.
So go ahead and give me an investigation on that too. And Rita, why don't you go ahead and let's call it we'll call it a agility roll. Yeah, right, agility sounds fine. So your physique plus your agility.
Yeah.
Is it logic plus investigation?
Yes.
Yes. I got no successes.
I also got no successes.
Yay! Team Rock.
So here's one of the interesting aspects of this game is that you can push a roll. So if you wish, you can re-roll all your failures and try to get successes again. However, doing so means that you strain yourself and you will gain a condition. A condition on its own doesn't do much more than give you a -1 dice penalty on your future rolls. But if you gain 3 conditions, you are broken. But it is a means of re-rolling if you wish.
I mean, sure, why not? Right? We're only here for 4
Why not?
episodes. Yeah.
Why not?
There you go. That's what I like to see.
Sure.
Okay.
Prep the dragon.
2 successes that time.
Excellent.
1.
All right, good. So you at least got some. So you get 1 condition of your choice. So you can look on your character sheets and you'll see the conditions are listed out. Since you were rolling investigation, you will take a mental condition. So you're either angry, frightened, or hopeless. You are encouraged to role play whichever one you choose. And you will, until you get rid of the condition, you will have a -1 to your logic and empathy rolls. You can cure conditions by interacting with your memento if you have a quiet moment at some point. You can interact with your memento, so if you wish to do that at some point, just let me know. Otherwise, you get some rest, or there are other ways to sort of fix that up.
Me, I'm one of those ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
If you confess your
Well, that's
sins
not
to the
happening.
Father.
Britta has no sins.
All right, so
Rolf's just gonna rack up conditions.
so we'll go around then and sort of see. And since Britta, you had succeeded without pushing, we'll start with you.
Mhm.
So you attempt to climb this thing. You said you got a success, right?
Yeah, I got 2.
So it is 2 is good because it's very difficult. There's not a lot of handholds. It's super slick, and you find yourself a number of times slipping. And Kitten, who has run all the way up to the top and is looking at you like, "What are you doing? Get up here." You eventually manage to sort of climb all the way up to the top there. When you do, Raffen comes down and alights on your shoulder again. It seems very content, and Kitten doesn't seem to mind too much. You've climbed up on that rock, and as you stand up there, you do sense, sort of in that part of your soul, if you will, or your heart or your being, whatever, that usually knows when things are not the way they seem, or that there's something. You do sense that you're kind of at a nexus, at a place where several powers and different types of energies sort of converge, and you kind of get the feeling that this rock is extremely ancient, and is the focus of that. So there's clearly here some sort of power, and as opposed to the other places where you were, that power feels present, and I don't want to say overwhelming, but there is definitely something here. But as you stand there, go ahead and make me a as you stand up there, go ahead and make me a vigilance roll, and do it with an advantage that I'm giving you because you've climbed all the way up there, so you can add 2 dice to your roll.
Ew. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Hold on. Sorry. All right. 2. And then add vigilance, right?
Yeah.
Which is 1.
So yeah, so you roll that dice, right? The vigilance you roll. That's an extra dice. Yeah, you roll a number of dice equal to your skill and your attribute.
Sorry, I
No,
put
it's
in a 6 and then I was like confused. Okay, there we go. So 2. Okay, great.
All right. So as you look towards the northwest, to the little copse of trees that are there, you notice one tree that is a little bit different than the others. First of all, it looks dead, like there's no leaves on it or anything, and it's kind of strange because it's got sort of weird holes in it. It's almost kind of like there's a face carved in the tree. And for a fraction of a second, just as you look, you could have sworn you saw a little blue face peering at you through one of the holes and then darting back and hiding away inside that tree.
I'm going to call down to Vendela. I'm going to say, it's an old rock. It's like really old.
Great.
Keep your eye on that tree.
What's wrong with the tree?
I don't know. It's weird.
Okay. I'm
Like
going to
a
go there
face or
next.
Yeah.
A face?
Maybe. Like
Like-
a face or something.
Carved in the tree or peeking out from the tree?
That's a good question.
I'm going to check that out next.
And currently you are checking out the rock you were saying. So go ahead and give me your investigation. What did you get?
I got 1 success on that one.
So as you're checking out the rock, you approach it and kind of see, and you look maybe like you're kind of interested in where that water's coming from. And it's very strange because the water, there's no holes in the rock. The water really seems to kind of be emanating from the rock itself. Really kind of almost like it's going through it like by osmosis or something like that. It's very strange. And as you approach it, you start to realize in places like more kind of underneath little overhangs or behind, like where there's like a little bit of, you can see that there are symbols etched in there, and they're so ancient. What you come to realize is that this rock was probably covered in them back in time, and now, just with the effects of time, so much of it has gotten smoothed away from the rain and the wind and all that, and only the parts that are kind of protected a little bit still have these engravings in them, and you recognize a little bit some of the way they are drawn, and they're very similar to some of the other ones that you've seen before, both in the village that you'd visited and in that lodge that you visited on the island. And there's one in particular that sort of stands out a little bit, and you kind of feel that there's something about it. There's something about it that's meaningful, and that has power that you recognize.
Benla's going to write the symbols down in her notebook. I'm like, okay, so
You'll need some way of doing a little bit of investigation on it, perhaps with some books or something, in order to decipher it and know what it means. But as soon as you draw it and you pick it up, you right away instinctively recognize that it's one of those runes that you've encountered before.
gotcha.
This tells you that it was put here, thousands of years ago.
Very old magic still lingering here.
You will then move on to the tree and see what's going on with that.
Yeah, gonna go to that tree that Britta said had a face in it. See what's there. So is that another investigation?
Well, we'll see about that in a second. We'll go to
Okay.
Rudolph,
Cool.
and I'm saving Father Victor for last here. We'll go to Rudolph. Rudolph, you were doing an investigation to see if there had been tracks or people around here, you'd said?
Yeah, anything weird, really.
Well, your companions, for one.
Fair.
And you pushed and you got some successes, right?
2.
Okay. So as you kind of comb through the area a little bit, you will, one, come to realize that the only living thing that's been here on this side of the island for a while is the sheep. There's just this one sheep that's just there, just chewing at the grass. As you maybe move around to the other side a little bit, you will notice that there are signs of perhaps boats and men having come here. You'll find old tracks, like I would say certainly weeks old, if not more, but clear tracks that men have come here, coming from the northwestern sort of side of things, maybe a half a dozen of them. And what you can tell, you had 2 successes, right? So what you can tell with the extra successes, not only did they sort of come here, but they left in a hurry. Like their footsteps going back are much hurried, and there's 6 men that came in. There's only 4 that left.
That's normal.
That's totally
That's
normal.
fine.
That's normal for the
Normal
different
island.
number to leave than get the that's
And they were heading
Tiny
into
island.
and they were heading into that
Did the
kind of
sheep
copse
do
of
it?
trees there. Sorry, go ahead.
Did the sheep do it?
the sheep ate 2 of them clearly.
Sheep ate 2
The sheep's the
men.
BBG of the big bad guy of the game.
Okay, and
Sheep Lord.
So the tracks lead to the copse of trees, but
Yeah.
there are fewer tracks going back away
That's
from
right.
the copse of trees. Okay.
So the thing, there's probably something dangerous in that copse of trees there.
I was going to say, are there 2 people just hanging out in the copse of trees? Can we see?
No, you don't see anybody. You just see Vendela, who's making kind of a beeline for right where the copse of trees is.
Rudolph will call out and say, one moment. Let's be careful.
I'm being careful. Why? Did you see something?
There are 6 sets of footprints leading to that. And then
Okay.
4 going away.
Oh. Britta said she saw a face in the tree, so I was gonna see
What
if
are
it
you
was
guys talking about down there?
the tree's weird. Potentially.
Yeah, that's what I told you.
You were correct. There are less tracks leaving the island than what came to the island, apparently.
Well, that group of trees specifically.
The group of trees that you saw.
Yes.
Feel free to join me then.
I certainly can. I'm here as a guide. If there's
I'll ask.
something in there taking people, maybe we should avoid it.
Fair point.
In my professional opinion, as a guide, that would be my advice.
Well, I'm not going to approach it alone, so I will.
Is Rudolph being gun shy? You want me to come down there?
Tell me if you see anything else happening on the trees. I think you have the best perspective of us, Britta.
Okay.
And
I'll
while
study it from a distance.
you keep approaching, while this is going on, the second you stepped on this island, Father Victor, that voice in your head came back and said, I don't think we should be here.
You have a lot of opinions and no helpful information.
Oh, I have helpful information. Just because I don't share it with you doesn't mean I don't have it.
And you are making choices.
Well, tell me this then. What would you like me to tell you? I'll tell you one thing about this place. Or one thing about your new friends. Some of them have very, very juicy little bits of information hidden all over their little insignificant lives.
Mm-mm.
Ask, and I'll tell you.
I would not invade their privacy in that way. So I would much rather hear something about this island.
Isn't that why you became a priest? To hear people's confessions, to hear all the dirty little dark little things that they do, so that you can forgive them. Wave your hand. Get all going.
That is different. That is their choice to share with me, and this would be finding out information that they have not consented to be shared.
You're
If
such
they
a
wish to
stick in the
confess to
mud.
me, if they wish to confess to me, they can.
See, they have to want to confess to you. They have to trust you. They have to want you to know these things. They have to believe that you can make it all go away. It's starting to smell a little bit like pride, Father. Is that what I smell there? A little pride. You can make it all better for them if only they'd ask.
If it's a choice between them asking and you telling me these things, I don't exactly see how that would engender any trust between us.
Fine, fine. Be a stick in the mud. Tell me then, what would you like to know about this place?
Well, you said that we shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that is particularly dangerous or concerning about this location? Because you didn't have any concerns with the other places we went to.
Oh, don't misunderstand me. I don't think there's anything dangerous here. There's a difference between something dangerous being here and us not being here. There's power in this place. There's the kind of power that you profess to shun, the kind of power that you profess to believe makes no sense in this world, and kind of power that comes from a source other than that old man upstairs whose butt you kiss every day when you kneel down to your church to talk to him.
I really wish you would not speak of him in that way.
Oh, if only you could hear the way he speaks of me.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. And in any case, this place is old. There's an ancient power here, one that is tied to the very earth beneath your feet. It's still very much active, but I'll tell you this. The power that resides here now is not the power that was here back in the day. It is an ancient power, but it is recently arrived. Interloper of sorts, sort of like, well, I'll let you finish that thought. Don't mind the sheep, just a sheep.
I see. Enlightening as always. Actually, more enlightening this time.
It's all in all you ask. You know, I usually don't give this stuff away for free. You're one of the lucky ones. I tell you, Father.
You just love to give me those cryptic messages.
Well, if I didn't, it would be nearly half as fun. Boring would be like an old couple, just nothing to say at the end of the day, just sitting there, each silently eating our little crust of bread and drinking a little water, and boring.
What I wouldn't give for that type of silence.
Oh, you wouldn't last very long. Your friends are having all sorts of fun without you there. Perhaps you should run along and get your hands dirty, perhaps, for once.
And Victor doesn't respond to that, but he does look to see where Vandella and Rudolph are.
The last thing you hear is, God, I hate that fucking bird. So, Vandella is approaching the area with the tree from the front. Rudolph is sort of coming at it from the other side. Is Britta coming down from her perch or staying up there?
I think Britta's gonna stay up there. When she saw the face in the tree, did it like look at her?
No, it was looking kind of more generally at the group.
Okay. Could I'm not very sneaky right now. This is so the least sneaky position. Okay. Yeah, I'll stay up there and I'll kind of like hunker down onto the rock and maybe grab my revolver out and sort of just like aim it towards that
Guns are coming out.
section of trees. Listen, Britta does not mess around.
And Father Victor?
Father Victor is going to follow after Rudolph and Vendela and just call after them. Where are the two of you going?
Great question.
I was gonna look at that tree because Britta said she saw a face on it, but Rudolph said it would be a bad idea because some people who came to this island before apparently didn't leave it. Didn't leave it walking, at least. Have you been to this island before, Father?
I have not. This is my first time here. Rudolph, have you been to this island before?
Presumably, yes. Which Rudolph does not say. That's just me thinking out loud.
Yeah, you would have been here at least to just kind of see what
Yeah.
it was all about.
Yes. Not often. But I've surveyed it before.
Does anything look terribly different from when you surveyed it before?
Well, that sheep was over there last time.
Ah,
But otherwise, no.
And so if we are not going to go towards that tree, what else are we to do here?
if someone would accompany me to the tree, I will go to the tree. I'm just a little hesitant to go alone after that warning.
I'll go with you, but just be cautious.
I'm trying to be.
So you approach the tree very cautiously. As you do, you become aware of something. The tree has this sort of face. If you saw... Oops, it's not all what I want to do. Right, it has that sort of kind of face here in this part of it. And as you approach it, you will find, and Jor will sort of be backing you up with his axe out, and they're coming along. You will see a little head pop through one of the eyes. But when I say a little head, I mean like the head is like this big. It sort of pops out with big round eyes and kind of looks at you. And you can see purplish wings, the tips of purplish wings behind it, sort of as it looks up. It says something in a language that none of you except Vendela understands. And Vendela, you're surprised to understand it, but it says, "Are you also here to try and hurt me?"
No, we didn't come here to hurt you. We came here to try to figure out how someone had gotten hurt here before.
You speak my language. How wonderful.
It is nice, yes.
The rest of you have no clue what they're saying. They're talking this sort of weird gibberish.
Oh no.
Victor is just staring.
This is a
at
heathen.
Vendela.
Heathen.
Your
This is a
sixth sense
demon
goes
girl.
off, Victor, as this strange sort of creature emerges from the tree. It is very tiny, like I said, probably maximum sort of about that high. It's got these purplish blue wings that sort of beat. It's got this little crest of colorful hair, these pointed ears that are very long and sort of stick out and kind of flap in the wind a little bit, and it kind of flies out and it comes over to where Vendela is and sort of flies around. Raffin in the back goes "Arr!" and then goes back to playing with the mink. But this thing kind of flies around a little bit and then sort of, starts just sort of flying in place, kind of like a hummingbird almost, in front of Vendela. I didn't know that people spoke my language. This is very interesting. Oh dear. Where do you come from?
I come from around Uppsala, so same country.
What is Uppsala?
It's a city, far out that way. She points in the general direction while also kind of giving the others a signal to be like, be calm. It's cool. Be calm.
Do all your friends speak our language?
No, I don't think so. Judging by the looks on their faces, they do not.
Oh.
It's going to be fun later.
What language do they speak?
Scandinavian, Swedish, probably others that are their business. But tell me, how long have you lived on this island?
Oh, not very long. Not very long at all. My name is Fennedir.
Fennedir?
Yes. What is your name, princess?
Oh, not a princess, but my name is Vendela.
And Fennedir kind of comes over and approaches you and reaches out to pull your hair. So you can't realize, can you pull your hair a little bit away from your. Do you let it or?
She's gonna let it because she doesn't want to risk offending it because it seems to be going well so far. So she's just gonna kind of tense up and just be like, yep. And just kind of try to angle herself so her back is towards the others so they do not see that her ears are pointed.
So, Kate, he's too far, but JD and Will you can make vigilance checks
Yes,
to see
please.
if you notice. So go ahead and do that.
It's a heathen woman talking to tree spirits.
I'm also sorry. Its name is not Fennedir. Its name is Laolia. It is a Fennedir. I'm sorry, I messed up. And then on the art thing, it says Fennedir. Also, I realized I messed that up. What did you all get? And Will?
Nothing, but I'm not pushing it this time.
So Will, you notice nothing,
Cool.
but as the hair is pulled back, Father Victor, you notice that the ear of Vendela is quite definitely elongated and pointed. Are you Huldafolk then?
My mother.
Oh,
actually.
Interesting. I didn't know there were still Huldafolk around.
I think they've traveled a long ways away. I haven't seen her in some time.
Would you like me to speak another language so they can hear us?
When we were talking about the island and things, I think it's better for us not to speak about my family in front of them.
They don't know?
No, they don't.
I can be discreet.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so it starts cycling through a few different languages. Eventually you start realizing that they're all kind of dialects of Scandinavian languages. And eventually it alights on something that you all can kind of understand to a certain degree. And it says, "It's a pleasure to meet all of you. You're also not here to hurt me, correct?"
Correct.
Britta will put her revolver away. Be like, never.
In your ear, Victor, you hear, God, one of those. It's a pleasure to meet you. Usually the people who come here are looking to cause some trouble. I'm glad to see that you're not like that. What are you here for?
We're trying to stop some trouble or figure out some trouble that happened before. Did you were you here about a year ago?
I was. Hold on a minute. Hadrian, and then it flies off. And it goes to the sheep. Hadrian, what are you doing here? What have we talked about? You know you're not supposed to eat on this side of the island. You know, because
Told
if
you
you
the
eat
sheep was over there
constantly in the
last time.
same place, your grass is going to stop growing. You have to move over to the other side now and eat over there and let this side grow again. I've told you before. Yeah, I know there's a bird and some sort of weird muskrat thing, but they're not going to hurt you. Just on the other side. Off you go. Good, Hadron. And the goat slowly, not the goat, but the sheep slowly moves over to the other side. Some of you would know that in Scandinavian mythology, there's a goat called Hadron. It's not a sheep; it's a goat, but this is clearly a sheep. And so Lilia comes back. Whoo! And how many times I'm going to have to tell it? It just doesn't want to understand. You can't keep eating in the same place. You just keep eating in the same place, you're just going to eat all of it, and then there's not going to be anything. And then meanwhile, the other side of the island is full of beautiful grass to eat. No, it wants to eat here. Doesn't understand. Very difficult to deal with, you know.
Hard
You
to
were
give up your
saying?
favorite spot. Yeah, we were here to. Vendel's also kind of gauging how everyone's responding to this creature as she's talking. But she says, "You were here a year ago. Did anyone come by around that time and leave an offering on the rock or anywhere on this island?"
Oh, yeah. Last year. It's been around this time of year also, I think.
Yeah, they would have left some bloody offering.
Yeah, I don't go in for that sort of thing, so I didn't touch any of
course.
it.
Did you see anyone touch it after it was left here?
Group of people from the village came by and seemed to be kind of dismayed by it. But they left it there. I think Adrian ate a little bit of it at some point and made her sick. It was just wrong. But eventually it got pecked at by various carrion birds, and that was the last I saw of it. That's kind of disgusting. It's like, ooh.
Can you describe who left it there?
No, because I didn't see them, because when they came on the island, I went to hide, because usually when people come here, it's not usually something that ends well.
What
Fair.
usually happens?
Well, usually I manage to hide and they don't see me and they go away. Like, there was one guy who came here. It's been a little more than a year ago, but he was like you. He could see me and talk to me and everything. He said his name was Sten. He saw me and we talked for a little while. He said he was here to stop the dragon. And he wasn't here to hurt me, so we sat and talked a little bit.
Dragon?
To stop the dragon?
He said
The dragon.
You said a dragon? Britt is still on the rock.
Yeah, the dragon points towards Lockspindler.
Ah, that dragon. Yeah.
They have a dragon?
They are the dragon. I mean, it's their fault that the Landvitir that were here got driven out years ago.
Did they hunt them down, or was it just
No, I
they
think
poisoned?
they just people, you know, I'm kind of here hiding out. So, you know, I figured nobody else wanting to be here would be good. I mean, you know, for this kind of strange island in the middle of nowhere, there's a lot of people that come here, don't get me wrong. Like, it's a little bit more traffic than I would have thought in the beginning. But that being said, usually the Landvitir don't really like this sort of thing. So they packed up and moved out a long time ago, even before I got here.
Interesting. So there's no Landvitir anywhere around this village anymore.
Oh, yeah, there's a new one.
Oh,
Yeah, you haven't seen him?
not yet.
Oh, it's kind of scary. He's kind of very scary. He's got this broad brimmed hat, and he's got like this scythe. And he stalks around at night. I don't know him. He seems maybe kind of like trollish a little bit, maybe, but I don't know. I wouldn't go near him. He just walks around that village all night, and big broad hat and that scythe. It's just give me
through the
shivers.
village. She's kind of looking at Rudolph and Victor, just like, seen anything weird in the village at night?
Nothing like that.
Many things, but the priest is right in this case.
Thank you, Rudolph.
In this case.
I thought that's the one you were looking for, actually. You
I
look
mean,
like the
might
kind of
be.
people who would be looking for that kind of people.
So he just lives somewhere around the village.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about his kind.
It's fine.
My people, his people don't usually mix too much.
So he came here about a year ago?
Yeah. He
Hmm.
arrived around this time of year.
Ah,
Maybe a little earlier. He seems like the kind of guy who shows up just at the very beginning of spring kind of thing.
you've been so helpful.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you're not trying to, hurt me. So,
Speaking of people being hurt,
hmm
it seems like some people might have gone missing here.
some people might have gone missing. Actually, one thing, sorry that I wanted to do a little bit earlier. Rudolph, would you go ahead and give me a learning roll? People go missing. You mean whoever they put here in little pieces? No. Okay.
Oh,
Nope.
the dice are not being nice to you today.
Nope.
I'm
No.
not too aware of that. I don't really mingle with the affairs of the village. Not really my crowd, if you know what I mean. I kind of like to just hang out here with Adrian, and I'm hiding out. I'm here incognito, so I'm trying not to too many waves.
Understandable.
So what
know.
happens to the people who come to the island and try to hurt you?
Oh, now I know what you mean. Oh yeah, the ones that came from the dragon a couple of weeks ago.
Ah. Yeah, what
Yeah.
happened with them?
I let 4 of them go.
What
They can't-
happened to the other two?
They're gone.
Gone like
What happened to them?
figuring it out.
Should I get my revolver back out?
No. We're good. We're having a conversation.
No.
Thank you,
Rudolph.
Britta.
They
There's
came
no-
here to hurt me, and I defended myself. If you really want their bones, I can tell you where to find them, but that's about all you'll find.
Does anybody want some bones?
Kitten might like some bones.
I know, JD, you're playing against character if you're not going for the
Yeah,
book.
I was gonna.
I
All eyes
don't
on
really.
JD.
I don't need any bones. It's fine. Stop tempting me. This is so hard.
They came here to cause problems. We're just
Mhm.
gonna let the bones rest where they are, I think.
Mhm.
Sorry, Father, if you didn't want that, but
There's a snickering in your head, JD.
I suppose it's fine.
Great.
It's fine.
Well, since that's settled,
we'll be on our way. You've been so helpful, and we will not bother you at all. I hope no one bothers you. and you
No
continue to-
problem. I'm glad to have been of help, even if you and I have absolutely nothing in common.
Yeah. So nice meeting new people, making friends. But
Absolutely.
you have a great time on your island with your sheep.
You know,
Hadron.
I couldn't help but think when you said that the two of you have nothing in common.
Mhm.
It seems like the two of you share a language that I personally have never heard before.
Well, I think that's probably just luck.
I have a lot of access to books, do a
That's
lot of
it.
studying.
What language was that?
It's a very old one. It's let's just get a little like I took frightened, so she's getting a little like frazzled and just like
It's the
very
language
esoteric.
of
Mhm.
nothing.
No, you can tell them what the language is. It's very hard to find.
It is. That's because there are no people around anymore that speak, or so I thought. It is the ancient language of Alfheim, the home of the elves. Don't you
Yeah.
know that?
Yeah, it's very hard to find certain books on them, but sometimes you get lucky, and I was very lucky.
Very surprising to run into one of you that speaks that
One of the
language.
A lucky person.
Mhm.
Yes.
Indeed.
So lucky.
If any of you are interested in learning, you could come back and visit me. I could teach you.
That is very kind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
What about you up there?
Sounds nice. That sounds nice. What are you guys talking about?
You should come down and talk with us.
All right, Brittle'll scramble down the rock.
He won't hurt you. Just
As Britta is coming down, Leolia will shift back to the Elven language and say to Vendela, "You sure you want to be hanging around that one?
which one?
That changeling?"
What's wrong with her?
Well, she's not your type of changeling. She's something a little different. Don't you know that?
I knew she had a changeling problem, but she did not mention it was with regards to herself.
She is the changeling problem, whether or not she knows it.
Oh, what makes her different from me?
Well, like with everything in life, there are good elves and there are bad elves. There's Alfheim and there's Svartheim.
Ah, that one. Oh,
So be careful. Is she a little violent? A little easy to provoke?
Mink is, but not her that I've seen.
I don't know. She had a gun earlier.
She didn't fire it.
Watch out, she's coming close. She might speak the language. Let's just. And so, anyways, I was telling him that
What's
it's
up, you
very
guys?
hard to find good help around these parts, and so I got the goat just so that like that way I don't have to take care of the grass. It just sort of keeps it nice.
Smart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't been bouldering in a while, so that was a nice workout for me.
Well, she Elliot kind of gets away a little bit from Brita. Well, if there's nothing else I can do for you, it's gonna be dark soon.
Oh, right.
We should probably
Right.
start making our way.
Yeah, we don't want to be out at night. Not just yet.
No, but
thank you.
come back and then chat sometime. What did you say your name was?
Vendela.
Oh, Vendela. Okay, yes. Yes, absolutely, Vendela.
Mhm.
Okay.
Come back and hang out.
She's gonna switch back to that language and be like, "What's wrong with my name?"
That's not your real name, is it?
As far as I'm aware, it's
So
part
much to
of my
learn.
name.
Come back and see me sometime. Tell you all about it. I came here from. I looks sort of over shoulders a little bit and goes. I came here from the court of the Fey Queen. I can hook you up. I mean, they want me dead, so not that I can hook you up, like bring you there, but I can, you know.
The Fey Queen from here.
The Fey Queen.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. That's wonderful information. I'm glad you're being safe and haven't been harmed by her.
No, they just banished me because I fell in love with a human maiden some centuries ago, and we weren't supposed to. And well, you know, one thing leads to another, and next thing you know, you've killed 10 royal guards, and then you have to run away. But you know how these things are. They just happen.
Which language is this?
It's in the elf language.
Yeah, not the one we can understand.
Cool.
And that's something with just the Fae and not the Huldafolk, right?
What are you guys talking about?
Oh yeah, we're just kind of distant cousins.
Okay, so they don't have that same. Can't be with the human.
No, please. I mean, you know. No. Oh, why you and she points to the other 4. You and one of them?
No, my parents.
Oh yeah, no, that
No.
happens all the time.
Great, good to know. It's been enlightening. Thank you.
No problem. And switches back to the language you understand. It's fun meeting y'all.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Adrian, what did I tell you? And it flies off again to.
Benla's just gonna go right for the boat. Just nope, we're gonna leave. Just trying to avoid conversation.
Britta's absolutely gonna like come right behind her and be like, Vendela, what's going on? That was good. I'm glad they weren't like trying to attack you or anything, because that's what I was worried about, because they were making
I
weird
was a
face.
bit worried about that at the start too, but I was just letting it stay calm, and I'll tell you more when we're at the inn.
Okay. Okay.
I have no clue what happened there, Vendela, but looks like you got some sort of information.
Yeah, he said that about a year ago, he didn't see who left the offering, but that all the Landvatir that used to be here are gone, but a new one wanders through the town at night, and it came here about the same time that the sacrifice happened. Wears a wide brim hat and carries a scythe. I assume that doesn't sound familiar to anyone. And do you know someone named Sten?
No, but I haven't been in the village a lot. We could ask down in the village, maybe someone would know. Rudolph doesn't mean anything to you?
Victor.
I wish it did. I could roll for it. If there's a roll I could make.
Made your roll already.
Damn.
Oh!
Damn.
Oh no!
Should have taken that condition, I guess.
Well played. Well played.
Ooh!
These things happen.
Ouch.
These things happen. And more than one ways to skin a cat or a mink.
Hey, you leave Kitten out of this. He's done nothing wrong.
So
Wow.
you'll head back towards the village, and it's getting close to 11. But I do want to, I want to do a few things again. But I do want to give you a few minutes here. If you want to just kind of wrap up a little and sort of talk a little bit about what your next steps might be. You're going to go in and get some rest for tonight, I would assume. But then, if you want to talk a little bit about where you would go to next while you're on the little boat ride back to the thing, I'll give you the space there for a few moments.
You were talking in that language an awful lot, especially at the end.
Just had to clarify a few things that I thought he might have found personal. Like the in unison head nod.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't see who left it. I don't know who this Sten is. But we have a lead somewhere in the village.
Can't
Somewhere to
believe that
start.
nobody's seen this figure if
Well,
they've been here for this long.
certain things can't be seen without a certain set of eyes, as I think you two know. Britta and I know.
Perhaps it would be best if we spoke plainly.
Sure. You're also Thursday's children. You can see Vaesen.
I'm not
That's what it
familiar
means.
with the term, but I've seen some things.
Imagine you've seen some things as well, Father.
I suppose I have.
Are you still seeing some things?
Still
Father.
hearing some things.
Does Rudolph say that?
No, Rudolph doesn't know anything about
Okay,
it.
I needed to clarify. Just needed to clarify.
Yeah.
He just looked troubled, is all I'm saying, for a priest.
This
Even
has
that many
been a troubling
priests.
time.
They all look troubled.
And Victor just looks at Rudolph meaningfully in response to that comment.
What?
No,
I
at the
thought
end,
we were speaking plainly.
were you a priest?
I was implying that.
Oh,
Just that he seemed to have familiarity with priests. That's all.
I've known some.
So mysterious for someone who's asking to speak plainly.
I don't see the relevancy that it has with the matter at hand.
it's fire. If it doesn't have relevance to the matter at hand, there's no need to bring it up.
We're not hunting priests after all.
Just nervously plucking at her bone bracelet. Just, yeah.
I don't have a strong feeling about our next move. Other than the lead we have in town, there are a few other places you wanted to investigate.
Yeah, the sacrificial sites, other than the one on the island, the Vatir, they would have made the offerings to in the past aren't there anymore. So, and like I said, birds ate the remains that were left. But if it's something to do with this potentially troll figure with the scythe that wanders around town at night, I wouldn't recommend wandering around town, but perhaps keeping watch from a window to see what we see in our different areas of the town might be a safe way to start.
Is your bird nocturnal?
He's not my bird, first of all.
Right. Like you.
And what you're talking about is a blind. A place where you can sit and watch and not be seen while you hunt.
Is there a place that in town that would suffice as such a blind?
You'd probably want something fairly tall with a good vantage point.
Like a
bell
what is
tower?
that?
Like a bell tower, yeah.
Father, how sturdy is that bell tower?
That bell tower is not yet finished.
But kitten is very light.
Can kittens see and tell you things?
I mean, we have our own way of communication.
Okay. That's very lucky.
Would the bell tower be built enough for us to use, even though it's not finished?
It would certainly give you a few levels up.
Okay. Well, it's as good a place as any to start.
If you don't mind, Father.
Not at all. I want to ensure that the town is safe and that there is not a repetition of what happened last year.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. Right, so I
Well, then
suppose.
So who's
Looks like
going
we'll all
where?
be.
I'm sorry.
I think we're going to the church. It sounds like for a little midnight mass.
Little midnight mass. As you head back into the town, you will. So you're all going to the church. You're not going to the inn, or you're going to spend the night at the church. Is that sort of what's going on, or?
I guess other than if we go to our own respective homes for like dinner and then meet back at the church before it's dark, or we think that might not be safe.
I mean, I could just grab some of that deer carcass that I stashed.
And I
Roasted in
mean,
the kitchen.
Victor does let you know that Mira dropped off a whole bunch of bedding earlier,
Yeah.
so there's plenty of that.
Everything we need.
That sounds perfect for
Candles.
me.
All right.
Church it is.
So you're heading back into town towards the church. As you arrive in town and sort of pull up and get ready to move into the church. Now, do you go and get your things at the inn, because all your luggage and stuff is at the inn?
Yeah, I think Venla would want to at least grab her book on runes to help with the symbols she found.
Cool. And so the two of you are going to head back to the inn to pick that up. Will and Father Victor going straight to the church.
Yeah, I think Rudolph is probably actually going to get some of the deer carcass, if only so that the two of them don't have to be alone together.
That's fair.
Okay. As you're off getting the deer carcass, Raffin will be following you, and as you pick it up and go back to the church, Raffin will be and kind of fly off in the opposite direction, and then stop and kind of look back at you.
Do we have to do this now? Fine. I will follow Raffin.
All right. As it's 11, I'll just quickly narrate the last little bits here before you all sort of get back together. You will head back to the inn, Vendela and Britta, and you will go upstairs and get your things. And when you're coming down, Britta, you will come down first before Vendela, and you're waiting for her, and you see off into the little there's like a little lounge area where some men are sitting around smoking by the fireplace, and you see the writer that you came in with, August Sharp, who is sitting there and enjoying a glass of brandy, perhaps, and a cigar, and sitting across from him in one of the high wingback chairs, also enjoying a bit of a drink and a cigar, is a figure you haven't seen in a very, very long time. A very tall, gaunt man with a reddish beard and hair. And as you see him, he looks over to you and gives you a little bit of a wink and a smile, and then goes like this. And then turns back to August Sharp and continues talking with him. How does Vendela find Britta when she comes down?
Britta is typically pretty stoic. She really prides herself on her ability to present unflappable. But I believe in this moment, Britta is standing very still. And she is not looking at anything in particular. It's almost like she can't focus her eyes on any one thing. And you see her hands, which are normally so still, right? Just shaking just a little bit.
Britta, are you feeling all right? And I know seeing one of those things close up can be a lot sometimes, but did something else happen?
I don't know.
Do you need to lie down for a moment?
Perhaps we should get back to the church.
Okay. If you need to lie down when we get there, you can. We did a lot today.
I know. I climbed a rock.
That was impressive. I could not do that.
Yes. Yes, you could not. Let's get to the church.
Good idea.
You will head off to the church. Rudolph, you will follow your bird a little bit of a ways. It goes back to the river and it stops once in a while to make sure you're still following. Eventually, it'll go down a little bit downriver, and you'll arrive at a place that you know is there. There's an old sawmill that is there that is completely disaffected and sort of hasn't been in use in forever. And Raffin will go and land like right on top. There's like an old lamp that's just over the top of the door, and he'll sort of land there and look back at you.
I'll follow cautiously.
It's very dark. Night's falling, and you don't see really any light or anyone or anything like that. You get a sense that the place is probably empty. Like you're not getting, your hunter's senses are not kind of detecting anything
In there?
around you.
I ask her often. Sorry. Yeah.
And it pecks its beak at the door.
Again, very gingerly, I will try the door, and I think I will have one of my knives in hand.
You open the door. You find it is a disused place. Of course, there's some old tools left, cobwebs. Some windows are broken, so some leaves and whatnot have broken in. There's water damage and sort of dust and dirt kind of over everything. It's clear that at some point, not recently, but certainly in the past year or so, there was some movement here. You can see footsteps under the dust where there's a bit less dust in other places, and so on and so forth. You can see on one of the benches that would usually have had a saw in it, and where they would have cut some of the wood, there is quite a fair amount of dried blood that is spread over it. And over on the floor, you, with your hunter's senses, as you kind of go through the room, you realize that there was some sort of a scuffle and someone was killed in one corner and then dragged, probably while still partially alive, all the way to the table, where the amount of blood that you can see on the table is the kind of blood that you see after you've taken care of a deer, for example, something like that. You will see in one corner a pile of debris that have kind of been half burnt, and one of the things that you notice is a jacket that looks like one of the jackets that the people at Loch Spindler wear. Someone tried to burn all of that, and it didn't quite quite work out. And you see in one corner a couple of barrels that are on their side, and one of them has been leaking, and there's this sort of, it's gone now, it's kind of dried out, but there's this liquid that has completely turned the wood there kind of brown and rotten, where it has spilt, and it has even sort of gone through in some places. And as you take this in, you see often the corner near where the things have been burnt, very likely something that fell out of the jacket's pocket or something like that, as they were hurriedly kind of trying to burn all the clothes that were there. And as you approach, you see the remains of a body that have been burned in that pile. You see a piece of paper that is sort of sticking off to the side, and when you reach out to grab it, it says, "Take them to the old mill and make sure Ivar's daughter shuts her mouth on pain of suffering the same fate."
Okay.
Meanwhile, back at the church, as
Oh boy!
Vendela and Britta are about to return, Father, you've gone inside and prepared your things, and started to figure out where you're going to put people, because there's still only one bed, but you got all that extra bedding, and you figure, Rudolph will take care of himself. And then Vanilla and Britta return and knock at the door.
And Father Victor goes to open it and welcome them inside.
As you do, you see three men standing there. They're dressed all the same in nice suits with purple shirts, the sleeves rolled up. They're strange. They're very tall, probably almost kind of like 8 feet tall, with very long, kind of gangly arms, a big bulbous nose under their derby hats. And one of them says, "Hello, Father." And the three of them pull out cudgels and push their way in to the church. And Vendela and Britta, when you arrive at the church, you find the door open and Father Victor absent. And that is where we will end tonight.
Oh no!
That's rotten.
That is where we will
Absolutely
end
rotten.
tonight.
Oh boy! Wow.
Oh, Victor,
Wow.
no!
No.
God.
How's everybody doing? Everybody okay?
We're,
Great.
Yeah.
we're good.
Got got by the Pinkertons.
We're
man.
processing.
The
I
Pinkertons.
can't believe. I can't believe Father Victor had that unreleased Magic the Gathering booster pack.
That was my secret. You know my dark secret.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
And they found you even in freaking Norway. They pretty tenacious. Thank you very much. I hope everyone's okay. I was gonna originally kind of role plays out a little bit more, but with the time, I figured I'd just kind of narrate them, and I'll talk about sort of what happens. But you don't have to make a new character, JD. It's all good. And the other ones, we'll know right away that you've gone missing, but we'll see sort of what happens with that next week when we return. So yeah, thank you so much, gang, for playing this. Your characters are kind of starting to come out, and Stephanie had a bit of a head start on y'all with that, but I definitely feel it, and I love those sparks between Victor and and Rudolph.
Oh my god.
I'm the GM, and even I'm looking forward to figuring out what that's all about in there. So
Cut the tension with a knife. My god.
Seriously.
What happened?
that's right. And yeah, so thank you very much. How about we go around? Hey, Vancouver, thank you for joining us. You came in just in time for us to finish. We're not leaving because you got here. We're leaving. We do have a giveaway from Free League Publishing tonight. If you want in, ! Drawing. We will, here in a minute, after the cast have introduced themselves one final time, I will draw a winner for the PDF copy of the core rulebook of Vaesen, which is the game that we're playing right now. So if you don't know Vaesen, you want to get into it, exclamation mark drawing for the to be included, and here momentarily I will make that drawing. But first, please, I would like to give my cast another opportunity here to tell us who they are, what they got going on, so on and so forth. They're so awesome, each and every one of them. I truly appreciate you all. So let's go at it, and let's do like we did earlier tonight. We'll start with Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I've been Vendela, the occultist. She's full of secrets. You can find me at @SBrownWrites on Twitter or under the handle Lavenza, both in the Guild Superior Discord and the Live from the Apocalypse Discord. You can also catch me on Friday at Live from the Apocalypse in JD's Regency Monster Hearts, a season of Secrets and Shadows, and soon in JD's psychological horror supernatural game Redacted over on LFTA as well. So thanks for hanging out tonight.
All light entertainment. That's just gonna,
Oh yeah.
Who's got time for
Listen
light
here.
entertainment?
You know, it really used to be. It really did used to be. We
Just
had a
keeps
Yu-Gi-Oh
escalating.
game.
We
Oh,
used to be
yeah.
so carefree. Look at us now.
Got the Pokemon game, right? That's
Yeah.
still a thing.
That's Eldritch Horror.
Oh,
It's fine. No,
Whoops.
it's fine.
so it's fine.
It's all good. It's all good.
I know we got like a cute little Christian kids game going
Oh
on.
yeah,
right?
no, we do.
No,
We
it's
have a
fine.
really cute Christian
It's
kids
so
game. Yeah.
You know, I watched part of that game the other day, and yeah, it's pretty hardcore.
Cute.
Not gonna
What
lie.
does the box say?
Well,
Yeah.
JD, it's your turn.
Yeah, absolutely. JD, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your light-hearted little priest kid game.
Oh dear God. Okay. So yes, tonight I have been Father Victor, one of my many religious characters that I have been portraying in recent weeks. Speaking of those other characters, you can find one of them this coming Sunday for our next Academy H episode, where I will be playing Watcher, a semi-angelic looking being, and also with that Christian kids game that we mentioned before, where I can be found as Saint Soren, who does not have any problems and is very well adjusted and everything is fine. And then you can find me in Class Reunion as well, and other games that are coming up, as well as running a season of Secrets and Shadows and Redacted
Holy.
starting next month. Also, this week, you can find me tomorrow night because I have no chill.
Who sleeps?
Nobody needs sleep. It's fine. Over with the Lost Caravan, where we will be finishing up probably our last session of Lancer. I will probably die. It'll be
Wow.
fine. So that is my schedule right now.
Can't
but
stop, won't stop.
that's fine. There are so many channels on LFTA where I'm just like, this is another server that I'm in. It's fine.
Well, thank you for making the time to come and play here.
This
with
was
us.
a delight. This was a dream come true.
Well, don't say that just yet. I just knocked you out with a bunch of goons, and who knows what's going to happen.
Give me nightmares. That's what I want. Will knows this.
So tonight was just the appetizer. We'll see what really comes down the pipe after that. Will,
Hey,
Tell us a
yeah,
little
I
bit
can
about
do that.
yourself.
Hey. Hi, my name is Will. Normally you can find me over at Live from the Apocalypse giving JD nightmares in various games and forms. I do a lot of things over there. I'm one of the organizers and the storytellers. I run and edit our Masks actual play podcast, Academy H, which you can listen to on your podcast streaming platform of choice. We record that live, and then it is fully edited and released a few weeks later in podcast form. So check that out. It's really good. And it's a lot of fun, and everybody does a great job. And that's where most of the bone jokes about JD come from. So if you want to know about that, you can listen to that.
Listen, I do bone magic. It's fine. It's fine.
True.
It's a normal thing to say.
I honestly, at this point, I probably do too many things to list. But this week we have, this coming week, we have Academy H on Sunday. We have, I think, the aforementioned Eldritch Horror Pokemon game Missing Numbers on Tuesday. And then
Eldritch
a season
Horror
of Secrets and
Pokemon.
Shadows, Regency Monster Hearts on Friday. I think that's our Live from the Apocalypse schedule. If you want to check it out, Live from the APOC on Twitter, Live from the Apocalypse everywhere else.
It's awesome. One of the things I
Absolutely.
love about your channel is you do these games that that you don't see everywhere. It's not like, hey, here's another game of Forgotten Realms Dragonlance or whatever. Like you're doing really sort of cool different things, and that's what I
We
find super
appreciate it.
engaging about it. Yeah, it's all fun, and of course, all the good work that you do doing this for charity and all that. I find that absolutely amazing. Hats off to you for doing that. Speaking of, I'm really high on cough medicine tonight, and so don't hold it against me. KT, how you doing, KT?
Yeah, speaking of that, exactly. We're so good. We're so good. Honestly.
We might
Dave,
be
I gotta
breaching some
be
TOS here.
I
Some
gotta be
Twitch
awake
TOS.
at 5:30 in the morning for work for a 12-hour day. So we are just like going hard tonight. You can find me genuinely wherever you want to. Probably in the LFTA Discord as Catix, probably on Twitter as Pager2266. And you know what? Just like hit me up. Just like start yelling in the streets for Katie. I'll find you. It's fine. Whatever.
When I first talked to Katie about playing in this game, Katie was like, "I'm just looking for like 10 more games to play, and like I just want to play in games." So she's
Yeah,
like,
genuinely, I do.
Well, you're very good at it, and thank you very much for making time to be here. Katie also did the art that you saw
Mhm.
tonight for the 4 main characters. I will be sending those out again on Tweet because they're quite amazing. So check that out. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Myself and Bleakseason. You can find me at the Bleakseason on Twitter. Run games here. Got something coming up tomorrow. Shadesong. We're in the final arc of the final story. Shadesong Season 2, my custom fantasy game using Dragonbane rules because I'm a free league whore. And next week on Monday, I will have the inaugural stream of Dawnbringer, which is the game that I created for my own channel. So I'm going to have a special one shot to launch that on Monday at the Bleakseason at twitch.tv/the Bleakseason. And then we'll start a game every 2 weeks on Wednesdays of Dawnbringer at the end of May. So I look forward to doing that. And I'm very excited about that world. And so I look forward to bringing that to y'all. And there's no Greyhawk next week because Uncle Dave is off on vacation in Iceland. Lucky he is. But enough of that. Let us take a look. If anyone wants to get into the drawing, last chance to get into it, ! Drawing. We are drawing a PDF version of the Vaesen core rulebook, thanks to the very gracious people at Free League. We will have one more next week and one the week after. So get in if you want. I'll give you another 2 seconds to get into it, and then I will hit the button. And hopefully this works, because who knows? My first time doing this. We don't know. Anybody else getting in? All good? Everyone happy? All right, I'm rolling it. You're not in. You snoozed. Stream
Appreciate
Elements,
that's supposed to
apparently.
happen.
Apparently, Stream Elements has won the giveaway. Dragon at Rest has won the giveaway. There you go. Dragon, are you here
Hey.
in the chat right now? I think so, because I think I just saw you, Dragon at Rest. Are you in the chat? All right. So if you want to, please send me, or don't send me anything. I'll reach out to you through Twitch probably tomorrow and get your coordinates from you. And once we get through all 3 games, Free League will send out the 3 books at the same time. So it'll probably take a couple of weeks for you to get it. But no, we've found that Stream Elements is kind of weird when it comes to doing these things. But whatever, it's there. There'll be more in the next few weeks, and so I'll reach out to you and get your information. Let me just make sure this thing doesn't lose your name. Dragon at Rest. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the people who came in and raided us. Speaking of raid, I should try and find a raid target. Let's see who's up, who's acting. All right, let's go and raid the Mandy, our friend the Mandy. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. Thank you to my awesome player. It was such a pleasure to play with you. Finally, I knew some of you, but now I know the rest of you. I look forward to getting into the rest of this. I really appreciate everyone that came out and hung out with us. Stay tuned. We're going to raid our friend, the Mandy. Give Mandy some love when we get in there. And we will see you next week, right here, right now, right here, next week, same time, part 2, Vaesen, Jera.